Can you tell Jody to stop screaming that, please?
Right. I did say we were going to start 20 past, so give me one more minute.
That's all right.
To my head, they shine well.
Hey, just like mine. I have some siblings. I have some siblings that say have hair on their head. I say that's because you know they read book.
Yeah. It's true.
Let them enjoy it while it lasts.
While it lasts. Yeah. Yeah. You should have seen me.
All right. Okay.
Afro hair.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
Welcome. Thank you very much. We need to mute some people here. Oh, I should just ask you to please mute themselves, please. If you don't mind, mute yourself. If we need to get you to talk, we'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. But now, please mute yourself so that we'll get this thing going. Right, as I was saying, good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to the new and bright new NSE London webinar. We did the most webinar last year and the year before, and we're just about to start again. So this is the first one for this year, 2022. You're all welcome. Happy New Year. And as usual, we have a fantastic presenter today, somebody you all know very well, and he's going to kick us off. But before he does that, there's a couple of things. We have to get the chairman of NSE London, Engineer Theo Odunlami, to speak to us and give us some updates and some plans for this year. So, Engineer Bosun, please kick it off.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pupola. I just want to say once again, good afternoon to everybody. It's wonderful for us to be together again. And we can now begin to see that things that we have done in the past few years have been coming out to yield fruits. We can see that people are now getting aware of who we are, what we do, and what we stand for. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you so much for your support so far, both in terms of your presence, in terms of your financial support, and in terms of the fact that you give us advice. In fact, the real fact that you're always there for us to maybe glean from your experience, because I mean, this branch is definitely well packed with experienced individuals in the engineering and manufacturing field. We are quite grateful, and we've benefited as a branch from that. And we, excuse me, we have been going through periods of forming and numbing, and now we want to begin to kind of go into implementation and gelling and implementation. And that is one of the things we want to do now, not only to bring ourselves to forefront of what we want to achieve personally, but also to see what we can do collectively, and then with the main focus being our Nigerian country, where we can begin to kind of spring up a lot of initiatives to create a difference in a very, very big, in a small way within the pockets of our areas of influence. And that's the most important thing I want us to look at this year. Begin to see how we can carve a niche for ourselves as a group and impact some very, very creative, some areas of innovations within the communities in Nigeria. And we started very well last year. We set up an initiative to sponsor 10 girls through education. Education is key. And we know that in some areas, even getting children to go to school is a big problem. Talk less of even giving maybe girls or maybe our daughters the opportunity to go to school. But we've been able to create that opportunity and be able to kind of maybe bell the cat in that area. And we chose a particular community, and successfully we've been able to do that. And we've been able to sponsor them, and they're in their second year now. We've just kind of sent them the support for their school fees and stuff like that we need for upkeeping. And that's one of the impacts we're talking about as a group. Many people may not know about that. We will not be getting any stars or award for what we are doing, but I know definitely those 10 girls, definitely, they're going to look back in a couple of years and write a history about how this branch has been able to do what it has done. And bringing it to our forefront, I want us to know that it is not Bosun doing it. It is not Dr. Popola. It's the collective recognition, a collective support of all of us on this particular platform, in this brand, that we'll be able to do that. So I can say in the annals of the lives of those girls, your names have been written there for your support. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. Those are going to be the future Michelle Obama, the future Mrs. Blair. They are going to be the future maybe Iron Lady Margaret Thatcher. But when they read their memoirs, your names are going to be there as people that contributed to their future. So we want us to take it up from that and see how we can proceed from that. And in that same way, we are starting big. And Mr. Dr. P, can you give me a chance to share the list, please?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So in that same vein, we have been able to set up different committees to really look at how we can get things done this year. Can everybody see my screen? Dr. P, please.
Yes, yes.
That's fine. So we'll be able to kind of set up different committees to see how we can channel this. We were able to work collectively last year to hit a particular goal, which is now up and running. That is now running on cruise on its own. But this time around, definitely we want to hit our targets on many fronts. That is why in London branch, we've been able to put together the technical committee, the advisory committee, the membership committee, the impact project committee as well. And we have those names on the screen who are going to be chairing and steering those committees for the next 1 year. And I believe definitely the pedigree of the people on those committees, they are they are really massive. And these are the things that we need to understand. We put a TOR together for them in terms of reference, which we are going to send to each one of them after today and have discussions on how to go by it. And we want to let them know that definitely this is just a way for us to strategize so that we know exactly what we are driving, how we are driving it, and what are the value we want to add into that particular committee, as it were. So I don't want to more or less kind of close the doors on people that are willing to join any of these committees. If you feel that definitely you can make solid impact in any of these committees for London UK branch, please get in touch with any one of us. And I mean any one of us. It doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be Dr. P, anyone at all. We are a family here. Get in touch with us, and then we can see how we can move on from there. So I want to say to these members of this committee, welcome on board. We are equal over here in London, and we know definitely that is the way we roll. You are open to talk to any one of us at any time. We are open to share ideas. We want to make sure definitely we make solid positive impact, not only within our own areas of specialization, also our areas of influence, with the primary target on Nigeria as a whole. Thank you very much. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. P now. Give us a brief report on what we have done on those girls, and then we can start this webinar proper as it is. Once again, thank you very much for coming. God bless.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, the girl sponsorship wasn't the only thing we did in 2021, or we tried to do in 2021. We did a lot of school visits. We did quite a lot of outreach in schools. and over 200 students attended the outreach back in August, and that's why we didn't actually have any webinar through the month of August, because we're busy doing this thing. And some of you will have seen some of the reporting on this. And in addition to that, we try to the best of our ability to have a project where we will install solar boreholes in communities. We try our Secretary General try so many organizations to try and link up with them so that we could sponsor some of these borehole projects in a community where they don't have water at all. Or if they have water which are very, very unclean and full of disease. So we have engineer Dr. May Sule, who was working on this. But as usual, with Nigerian project, if you're not on the ground, nothing happens. People will not promise you, and then in the last minute, something will happen and they will dump it. But this year, we've got a much better strategy going on. We're going to make sure that we'll have a go at that project again. And another project we're also thinking of going for is to partner with African Child Trust. They sponsor kids from about 6 countries in Africa, in Burkina Faso, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Zimbabwe, and they've been sponsoring kids from about 20 years now. Some of those kids are now grown up. Some of them are medical doctor engineers, and some of them have their own practices and all that. So we could partner with them and pick up one of their initiatives. It's not necessarily sponsor the kid itself, but they do sponsor projects as well. You know, empowering female women in the locality to set up businesses, and also to help them learn about technology or STEM subjects and all that. So we will partner with them. The chairman is talking to them about that. So those are the things we've done this year. But in terms of these 10 children, 10 kids and female girls in a government technical college in Kwara State, our view, our aim is to encourage girls to go into technical subjects. Otherwise, they'll be doing sewing, they'll be doing food manufacture or food preparations and clothes, you know, all kind of things. No, girls can do it as well. As you've all seen today, the first deputy president of Nigeria Society of Engineers is now a female in the name of engineer Margaret Oguntala. So those are the kind of things we're encouraging. And that project, we're partnering with the women's group called APWEN, Association of Professional Women Engineers in Nigeria. They were fantastic. Their previous president, Engineer Fumilola, can't remember her surname now, I'm really sorry. Ojelade, yes, sorry. Ojelade. I couldn't forget her first name because that's my sister's name. But Fumilola Ojelade, she was so amazing. She even turned up at the launch of the event in August, and she sent people from the closest city to the town, which is Ilorin. They have a branch in Ilorin, and 2 of their members came, and they're really graced today. And what we're trying to get them to do, all their contribution to this event, is to keep going back to their school and keep talking to those girls and keep, you know, inspiring them, you know, doing webinar workshop with them every term. Once a term, they'll do a workshop with them to try and uplift them, either to continue their studies or to learn something, you know, or inspire them towards science and engineering. So we thank APWEN for that contribution, and we hope to continue this year. We've already paid for their term that just started about a few weeks ago. We paid for their fees for all the 10 students. 2 of them are going to be registering for the equivalent of GCSE. We've also paid for those payments for them to be registered for those exams. So thank you very much for those of you that are really supporting us and contributing. But please, your contribution for this year is due already. We're now 22nd of January. So those billionaires among you that haven't put pen to paper, please try and we'll put the bank account up later on in the day today before the end of the webinar, so that you could please drop your sponsorship, either your sponsorship or your membership subscription. Membership subscription is £75 for full member, £50 for associate, and £30 for student. And like, if you want to be like Engineer Emmanuel Ajayi, who gave us £250 last month, because he doesn't like all this little money. He like to boom, one go. So we're very pleased to get any sponsorship from you, so that we'll continue to support, especially the borehole projects. It will require about £3,000–4,000. So we really need to raise a lot of money this year. So that's the update from last year, and we thank you for your contribution. But today we're here, as I've said, this is the beginning of our webinar for the year, and today we're going to be talking about. Let me get my slides on. We're going to be talking about engineer, which should happen to be our chairman. For those of you that doesn't know him, I hope you can see him on there. Engineer Theo Odunlami. Let me just shrink all these things that's on the face of the, yeah. Engineer Theo Odunlami is going to be the one talking to us today, and he's going to be talking about impact of value added engineering on projects. I'm sure a lot of you have done a lot of project. Engineers are not very good at, no, I won't say that. Engineers like to, be on the side of the numbers and equations and all these things. But when it comes to money and making it to work, they leave it to their cost managers to do it. But Engineer Odunlami is cut across all of that. He is a civil engineer graduate from the now called OAU, Obafemi Awolowo, I believe, University. It used to be called University of Ife. He commenced his journey into engineering as a structural engineer with a company in Nigeria called HFP Engineering. They're based in Victoria Island, Lagos. And that's where he got grounded in structural engineering. But since then, he's moved on to other area of engineering. And one of these is about value engineering, and which is what he's going to be talking to us today. And during that time, he's worked with so many companies in the UK. He works on the project like the London Olympics with Lano Rock, Heathrow Terminal 2. If you go into that terminal, you will love it. Engineer to make sure it was delivered on time and to budget. And also Heathrow Terminal 3 is working on that as we speak. And many upgrades of building and structures all across UK, all across, majority of them in London, because he's based in London, and he's worked with so many companies, and it's a prolific communicator, as you can see on our webinar. He knows how to persuade people to believe in what he's saying, obviously with facts and numbers to make sure he justifies what he's saying. So with no further ado, Bosun, sorry, I said Bomi. Yeah, I'm going to turn you to a woman now. Bosun is the current chairman of Nigerian Society of Engineering London branch, a certified member of the Council of Regulation of Nigeria called COREN, and an active member of the Association of Project Management in the UK. So with no further ado, I'm going to allow Engineer Bosun to talk to us on impact of value engineering on projects. And while he's talking, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you want to raise up your hand afterwards, we can also call you. If you don't want to type, we can also call you to ask your question. So Engineer Bosun, you've got half an hour to trail us. But one thing I would like to say to you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you give me the rights to share, please?
President, just been invested president of Nigerian Society of Engineers, will be coming in to address us. And he will not have time because they just finished the investigation just now where all the council members are sworn in. So once it comes in, I know this is not our usual thing, but if you don't mind, Engineer Bosun, I'm going to ask you to hold it wherever you are. I know you haven't got that many slides, so that the president could come in, give his short speech, and then disappear. So just bear that in mind. Yeah, I'm looking out for him. And if it comes in, I'm going to have to ask you to hold your thoughts for a few minutes. Okay? Otherwise, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pukbola, once again. And yes, I think we started on a very, very good note. And I want to take it up. Once again, we are welcome to London, UK branch of NSE. And this is your humble person, Theo Odunlami, speaking to you. And I'm going to be talking about value-added engineering today. And I want to take it up from where Dr. Pukbola mentioned the fact that engineers have always been kind of concerned about the structural stability calculations, number crunching, and stuff like that. And once we believe that definitely we've done that, we just move away from it and then do the supervision to make sure definitely that the reinforcement bars are well spaced, that the concrete cube tests are well documented, that we do a check on all the other paraphernalia of the construction to make sure definitely they are fit for purpose. However, engineers need now to begin to add some value to their knowledge and to their experience. Engineers need to now begin to see how they can be creative and innovative in their way of thinking. The idea of being an engineer is for you to think and to solve problems. But if we begin to stop at number crunching, then we will not be able to go into what is happening right now in the face of the pandemic and maybe the talking about even Brexit. Because if you look at the pandemic and the Brexit situation that is happening all over Europe, everything boils down to money, cost. And that is what is really driving projects now. Many companies are not able to kind of function after this pandemic because of what? Because they have been impacted negatively by the cost effect of the pandemic. And that is why value engineering comes in. That is why we begin to look at it from a different point of view. Why do we as engineers need to add value? Or what is value-added engineering? Well, value-added engineering is a framework of value analysis whereby you put some value into your engineering thinking pattern. Not only are you doing engineering for the sake of engineering, not only are you interested in doing activities just to make sure definitely there's stability in your structure, you want to make sure definitely that there's a lot of value you're adding apart from your knowledge into that particular project. How do you do that? You identify and you eliminate areas of high cost. Colleagues, I need to let you know what is really driving down many projects today is the high cost of implementation, high cost of delivery. Cost is making so much impact on many projects today that they are not deliverable. And we've been able to see that cost reduction opportunities will always transpire in many ways. You can look for it from the cost of logistics, of new technology, of labor, even material prices, they do change. And that is why we need to begin to look for ways of adding value to our construction. Why should I be a 2-bedroom flat last year and even with this maybe 0% inflation, all of a sudden I have to spend more to do it this year when I can do it less? And that is one thing we want to begin to look at. And it is high time that we as engineers begin to think in that pattern. How can I make that structure? If I'm given the opportunity now to build the same structure I've just finished, how can I add value by building it cheaper, better, and even faster? That is value. And that is one thing that we engineers begin to look at. Not because we think there's so much inflation and then we keep on piling money on projects and wasting money. So we need to understand that the current functionality must be maintained at no additional cost or at the lowest cost possible. And that is the idea why we as engineers begin to think about adding value to our experience. Now, what is value analysis? What is value engineering? What do we mean when we look at VAVE? We call it VAVE. What does it mean? Well, it's a process whereby you start from the cradle to the grave, an end-to-end product analysis of what you want to do. And then you put in innovative adaptations along the line from that particular start point to the end. And the main idea of that process is for you to have an increased value for the customers through your multidisciplinary and systematic cost reduction processes. It's not something you can do alone. In engineering, you don't work alone. It's a team product. It's a team affair. And then you look at it from the beginning, which is from the cradle, and then you look into the other end, which is the grave. And then you look at what you can do in between that particular thing, putting all the experience of people you have worked together, putting systematic innovations into play, looking at alternative materials to bring down costs, looking at people who have been there, done that, and begin to tap into their experience. By so doing, definitely, we know that we can bring down costs. For example, we know definitely we add value to a particular project when you get someone who has done it before. He has got that experience before, so he knows exactly what to do and what not to do. Then you're adding value other than getting a quack who does not know what he's doing. And that is why we need to begin to look at that value analysis as a whole. And value analysis can be adopted into any kind of industry, be it in the IT industry, in the healthcare industry, administrative industry, and all sorts of things going around. The NHS have been able to put it in some of their framework doing value engineering as well. How do they do it? Well, we need to drive down the waiting time. So how do we do that? Okay, we cannot let people work long shift by paying them so much money because it's going to add to more costs. But what do? Let's create hubs. Let's create telephone whereby definitely people that don't need to come and sit down in the hospital for hours, they can get their problem solved over the phone. That is value engineering. Someone thinking to make sure definitely we bring the cost down at all times, whereby we are still delivering the same amount of value required for the customer. That is what value analysis and value engineering is all about. Now let's look at where it all started all together. I mean, for everyone who has never known about value engineering, it took its root from the United States with General Electric. It was first applied in the World War II due to limited amounts of labor, material, equipment, resources for manufacturing, because they had to manufacture many equipments for the war, but they were running down on labor, they were running down on material. Even the labor force they had were not adequate or technical enough to understand what they were doing. So they changed their focus by looking at the avenues of sourcing alternative materials to manufacture these vital products, so that at times when there are shortage of these products or the materials, they will be able to have alternative means of still guaranteeing products for the war to continue. What am I talking about? At that particular time, they had to build tanks, they had to build guns, they had to do a lot of maybe shells and stuff like that. But they were running out of materials and even labor force. But then all of a sudden, someone was just thinking, we can get this thing, we can use alternative materials. If we have to use zinc, which is not available, have we tried other metals which are available and abundant to still get what we want to do? It's all about the product this time around and how it functions. And that person was able to come up with so many ideas. And at the end of the day, they discovered that he was able to eliminate a lot of waste, that is just wasting material that they never needed to even use in the first place. And he was able to maintain functionality of the equipment that were even produced, thereby saving costs and improving performance during the World War. And that was when we began to look at it. Let's look at what this person has done. And that is why as project managers, I don't know, even as engineers as well, we need to take this into our lives. We need to begin to imbibe the culture of lesson learned. There's no need for you to reinvent the wheel as such. Someone must have done something that you can leapfrog from. So they took a lesson learned from what GE Electrics have done. How are they able to be so creative and innovative to be able to kind of maybe source out alternative materials to still get the same product to perform the same function? And from that lesson learned, they were able to get the parameters that brought value to their products. And they were able to come out to the fact that definitely value is always inversely proportional to what? To the cost. And the function of that particular product is always the constant. That is, value is equal to the function of that product divided by the cost. And what is value? Value is the product, that is, what is the worth of that product? How much is it worth to you? Does it worth more when I spend so much money to build it, or does it worth less when I spend so much money to build it? How much value can you put on that particular product? And what is function? Function is just the properties and qualities that you expect from that particular product. It's about the quality, the performance of that particular product, how you want it to operate. Those are the things that really constitute what the function of that particular product is. And we know exactly what cost is. That is the cost of building or cost of manufacturing. And how does this work? Let's look at this particular slide. You have value, you have function, which is what I want you to do. If you notice that definitely that if you look at the first one, if we increase function, that is, we increase the quality. This time around, I want that particular car to have an AC, air conditioner. So you are now increasing the function. All of a sudden, and you are decreasing the cost. What happens? The value will decrease. Common sense. Now you are still increasing the function. I want this particular car not only to have AC, I want to have a satellite, maybe function in terms of maybe getting internet. And then you keep the cost constant. What have you done? You are still paying the same price for the production of that particular material, but this time around you have upped the game in terms of the function. You have increased the value of that product. It goes the other way this time around. Now you are keeping the function. I don't want to make any changes to how it works. But you know what? I want you to drive the cost down. I want the cost to go down. I want to get something cheaper to do it. And all of what happens, you are increasing the value. It still does the same function, but now you are driving the cost down. And all of a sudden, what happens? If you now begin to do what? You maintain that particular attitude by increasing the function, and then all of a sudden, you drive down the cost more. What do? You add more value to your product. And if you look at the extent of how mobile phones are being made nowadays, why do you think the Samsung guys, they are able to bring out new phones almost every 6 months? The whole of China is awash with different types of phones. You don't even know their names. Why do you think they bring it out every week or every month like that? Because they've been able to know that what is the function you require. You just want a phone that can take pictures, that can do all your Instagram and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But then they now go about to see where they can get the cost of the materials cheaper. Brethren, where do they go? They go to the hinterland areas and villages of Africa, where the labor is so cheap, where to produce one of these things and get the material that is so cheap. And then by the time they do that, they bring it out. By the time you look at it, you are getting the same function of your mobile phone, but they have driven down the labor cost of producing that mobile phone. They are cashing in every day. That is why the people in Apple, they are making money in trillions every year, because they are driving the cost of production down by looking for alternative ways and measures to get it done. And I tell you one thing, the bedrock of people thinking this way are engineers. The project managers all just need to do what? To be able to kind of coordinate people. And trust me, I've won both caps many times, so I know exactly what I'm saying. The people that are really behind the projects are the engineers, thinking things out. The project manager are just facilitators, putting everybody together. They're not the number crunchers. They've got the commercial managers under them. They've got the civil engineer under them. They've got the health and safety guys under them. But the guys really doing these talks about where can we get alternative materials to bring this cost down are the engineers. But what we have nowadays is just the fact that engineers are no longer thinking the way they should. We are now sitting on our strides, thinking hunky-dory, it is BAU, business as usual. We don't care if prices are going up to produce materials and products. We don't care if definitely things are going as skyrocketed as they are, but we are just thinking, it's the sign of the times. Everybody is going through it. But I can believe in some places in the Silicon Valley over there, some people are going through value-added engineering, looking at how to source better, cheaper, and even more formidable materials at lower cost to get the same benefit, thereby increasing the value of their products. I'm going to show us exactly what we have there. These are the potential savings we can get from value engineering. And you can see, for those of us who are in project management, you can see that below, I've been able to put the building life cycle stages from planning and analysis, which is the cradle, to operation and maintenance, which is the grave. Like I said earlier on, value engineering is about you adding value to your product from the cradle to the grave. So we can see from the planning analysis, whether you are putting the project together to where you are doing schematic design, preliminary design to see how it's going to work, and then from then to design development of what we are going to do, how we can modify it, and then we get to real working drawings, which we are going to use to work on site. And then you put all your construction documents together, the ITPs, all the waste management, whatever, all the access nodes, the lift plan works and everything. If you are doing hot works, you go and get all your permits and all your licenses before you now hit the site to do construction. And after construction, which is the execution, you now finish the operation and maintenance. But if you look at this particular graph, I've put the cost savings on the left and I've put time below. It has been discovered that it is always safer for you to increase the value of your potential product before you get to construction stage. Why? The moment you hit the site to build, or the moment you get to the factory to manufacture, you cannot add much value to that product any longer. Hence, you can see that if you look at the acceptance line graph, the curve for the acceptance line, what happens? At the beginning of the planning, you add so much value. Everybody's talking about what we have a visibility of what we want to do. But if care is not taken, if you don't do any much of value engineering, as you go down the drain, what happens? The cost will be driving down whatever value you have already added at the beginning. Someone comes with an idea. Let's have a 3-story building. Oh, it's lovely. Definitely, we can do that, £6 million. Fantastic. But by the time you are getting to construction, I can tell you, if there's no value engineering processes put in place, you will not get that building done at 6 because the cost will have increased. Because during the schematic drawings, they will tell you exactly it is not possible for you to have a 7-meter cantilever. During the design development, they can tell definitely that that particular soil cannot take that particular building. The working drawings will not even be ready for that particular time. So already you are accruing costs even before you get to execution. And in most cases, such projects will always fail. And if you look at it exactly the other way, looking at the resistance line tells you the fact that from the beginning, when you are starting your project, you don't spend. So the resistance line is the spending. But what happens as the project begins to ramp up, you start spending. That is why you saw that definitely when you start your planning stage, you have no engineer to pay. You're just kind of jaw talking and everybody looking at what we can do. But by the time you are hitting working drawings, already paying designers, you are paying people who are doing procurement, you are paying the commercial manager. If you are doing any offsite installation, you're already paying people working outside off the site. So your cost is rising for the resistance line. So the maximum saving you can make will always be at the early stages of your project. That is why value engineering is always tailored towards the early stages of your project. If you want to really add so much value to your project, you make sure you start talking about it from the beginning of the project. And how do you do that? You bring all the stakeholders in. The engineer, the project team, the sponsor, the user, even the community leader where you are going to build. From the beginning of the project, make them stakeholders in that project. You will begin to add value to the project by gleaning from all their experiences, by gleaning from their wealth of innovative ideas. And by so doing, all of a sudden, you begin to get ideas during the meetings and deliberations where we can get cheaper materials for the project, who can give you maybe a place for you to do offsite construction for free. Somebody has a land somewhere for you to go and pay for land to do offsite construction. Oh, this community can give you that land for free. You are beginning to drive in cost because you are getting people together at the early stages. Brethren, it is not common sense, or let me just say, it is not value-added sense for you to begin to bring your designers in after you have already planned the project. Yes, we know what we want to build now. Let's call the design to come and design it. No, get them in before they start design. You don't have to give them the job. You put it part of the cost. You can get two designers, and then they'll be able to kind of look at ideas and begin to bring it in together to get a better designs. Brother, most of the projects that we have as joint ventures today, those parties have always come together at the early stages of the value engineering sessions, at the planning stage. And from then they'll be able to know definitely these are the qualities we have. And then, you know what? For us to do this job very well and cheaper, I think we can always partner together. You guys are very good at risk. We are good at cost management. And then we can just work together. And then the client will say, you know what? I'm not going to award this job to one of you. You guys go and form a JV and I will give it to you. JVs are meant to benefit the stakeholders, the client, not the people working. If you look at it from the other, because if the client has given it to one person, it's going to cost him more. It was always during value engineering sessions, they see which companies can form JVs and partner together. And it's always done at the early stages. What are we talking about? And that's exactly where we are driving at. Value engineering will weigh the cost and the benefit ratio of every single function of that product. And why do you do that? You get every project stakeholder in prior to the project execution. That we're going to put mind together to rub mind to see alternative materials, alternative ways of doing the designs, manufacturing, more reducing of the cost while maintaining and often improving functionality. When the stakeholders are brought into place, in fact, if you come to a stage during value engineering sessions, you can even convince the client about his aspirations. During value engineering sessions, you will know how much risk or risk appetite your client has got, how much risk can he take by having a discussion with him, even before you go into design. Why do we have projects when there are 40 designs? Because there's no value engineering. Why do we have projects where definitely people are just coming and saying, look, I've not done that job before, so I don't know how to do it, because there's no value engineering. In fact, I believe, and I always tell my young engineers under me now, whenever you want to build a program for a particular product or a program for a particular project, go through the lesson learned study, go through the lesson learned folder. Who has done it before? Something similar. What have they done that looks very similar before? I'm not saying you should lift it word for word, but lesson learned is so much value you can add to a new product. There is nothing new under the sun, brethren. It's just an innovation, an added value to whatever product you've got. And a very good example is what we have in terms of the mobile phones. Mobile phones started very big and lumpy. But look at it now. They've been able to get it as slim as possible to that particular level whereby they've got folding mobile phones. It's a transition. Someone thinking every day. Someone thinking every day. And I can tell you, this is what I'm saying, and I can tell you, if you can look at the cost of production, it's getting lower and lower, but we are paying more and more for it. And then the functionality of the mobile phone has increased. So you can see the functionality has so much increased. The cost of sale has so much increased, but the cost of production has been brought lower because they're now using alternative materials, not bogus plastics, not bogus elements. They're using smaller, tiny pieces that you can get cheap in Africa, almost for nothing. No wonder that people in Apple are making money and the Chinese are making so many phones every week, chunking it to us, because they need to satisfy our consumption appetite. If engineers don't begin to think in the idea of value, whereby we begin to see how we can get things done more functionally and at the lowest cost, we are going to make ourselves redundant. The target is for us to get the lowest cost at the highest value. That is value engineering. Lowest cost at the highest value. And I was listening to the investiture of our new president of NSE this afternoon, and he hammered on that for about 3 to 5 minutes, that we engineers need to be innovative and creative. We can't just take things the way it's supposed to be any longer. We need to begin to add value. Our engineering prowess should now go beyond just calculating white tensile steel. No, how can I get this structure built cheaper and stronger, more functional? And then you look at yourself, it starts with yourself as an engineer. How can I add value to myself? And then Dr. Bukola was talking about it. He was looking at my bio, was saying that, well, I finished from IFE. I started working as structural engineer with HFP. But then that means I just felt, look, I can't. I started very, very young. I finished uni very, very young. And I just said, I cannot just continue as an engineer. I had to do something. And what did I do? By the grace of God, I've been able to kind of add value to myself. I mean, who would have known me? Definitely, I went into project controls, project planning, from project planning to project management. I've done my APM. I've got my certification in APM. And at the same time, I'm definitely, look, I'm not sitting down there. I need to add value. Now I have embraced this area of value engineering, just to make sure that you trail the blaze. You begin to show ideas that we need to get this done. And any project I'm on now, I'm always instituting that definitely there must be a session for value engineering. Let's bring the guys together and tell us what they've done before, how they've done it, very similar to this. We can learn from their mistakes. We don't make their own mistakes. We can learn from their mistakes, and then we look for alternatives cheaper to build the job. How does a value engineering process workshop look like? You can see the picture on the right. Everybody comes together. The client is there, the designer is there, and this is just the onset of the project. The contract has not been awarded. It's just the planning stage. Project planning, project inception stage. Everybody is there to come and listen. What's your own background? What have you done before? The first step in a value engineering process workshop is gathering information. What is being done now? What are the lessons learned? Gather information from everybody. Can we mute ourselves, please? Let's mute us, please. Information gathering is key. It's from gathering information you will know lesson learned, even from the client. Oh, Mr. Client, you want to build a 6-story building. What houses have you built before? Or are you just a rookie? Are you green in building houses? Okay. How was your experience when you were building the other house? Oh, you the designer engineer. Have you designed this kind of structure before? Yes. What value can you bring into this place? What are the mistakes you made? And then by the time you get all this information, you are able to measure the performance of available alternatives, because people will now come with so many ideas. The guy that did fabrication can now tell you, oh, I use a 6 mm bolt and have so much problem getting through the flanges. So I will not advise we use flanges in that area. That is one value he has added to that project. You don't make that costly mistake again. You analyze functions. What must be done? At what cost? Why do we have to use a rotary beam for this section? Hello? Why are we using a concrete cantilever in that area? Can't we make that cantilever steel? Okay, why are we using steel and we are using bolts and nuts for the joints? Can't we use weld? Then you begin to look at alternatives, because you want to analyze what does that product, what do we expect it to do? What does it do? And you look at alternatives whereby you can get that particular structure to do what you want it to do. And then the next stage is for you to now generate ideas. That is the brainstorming session. What else will we do with this job? Now we know what must be done. Now we know the cost. Now, what else can we do? What other value can we add? Now, this material is costing us so and so in Belgium. It's only in Belgium we can do it. Do we bring the parts in from Belgium and then come and couple it here? Or do we put all the parts together and then come and do what? And then bring it or ship it like that to the site? I could remember when they were building the Tottenham Stadium here in North London. And you know, the stadium is in the middle of a built-up area in North London. And we had 10-meter spans of members. that will go over a road of about 3 meters. How do you get those things there? And these are the things they started, they put so much, and nobody knew when they were doing all these things. Working nights, closing the road at some time in the night around 2 a.m. There was a particular day I had to drive that place to go and see. I knew these guys were working at night. Let me go and see what they are doing at night. Those are creative ways of adding value without doing what? Spending so much money. Because those members were all fabricated off-site, not on-site. And they brought them in the night. And then all the ideas are put in the mix. Let's begin to rank them from the best to the worst. It's like doing a kind of shuffling. It's like doing a kind of sifting of ideas. These are things you do, and it cuts across the same level with the clients involved and the end users involved, even the operators involved. And then you develop the ideas. What are the impacts of these ideas now? What are the costs? How will it affect the function of this product? Then when everybody is now happy with their contribution, you now present your ideas and sell alternatives. Yes, Mr. Client, you want to do this, but we have gone through this, we have gone through this, we have gone through that, but we can see definitely we can do this thing cheaper by using this material, by using this material, by using this material. You sell that idea to your client. And that is where that Dr. P said the figures now come in, the cost. Because all the client wants is, I want to know how much it's going to cost me, and I want you to make sure that it will do what I want it to do. If you are able to convince the client, yes, you can do it maybe cheaper, and we do the same thing, that you have just added value. And I can tell you 100% in a successful value engineering workshop, by the time you gather information, the cost will have been drastically reduced by the time you present your ideas for the same functionality of the product. And that is why you have different phases for this process workshop for value engineering. They have different phases of all the things I've spoken about. The first one about gathering information was the information phase. What do? The client will brief us what he wants. Then we do a feasibility study with the client present. Oops, sorry. Hello, can you see me?
Yes, we can. Go on.
Okay. Can you see the screen, yeah?
Yes, yes, we can.
Hello?
Value engineering process phases.
That's fine. So we look at the outline of the process of proposals. Then you do a scheme design. Those are the things that we do at the information phase. And then you go to the functional analysis phase. That is when you now begin to do a validation, all the cost estimate I've got, to really make this thing. Does it make sense? Yes. How many of you guys have done it before? Now let's begin to pull it down into bits. Breakdown of those data. Each element of the data for the cost, we now be able to look at it from that point of view. Okay, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. This is how much it's going to cost. I've done it before, and definitely we know it can work. And then from that particular area of functional breakdown of the elements of cost, you now begin to do an evaluation of areas that you can reduce cost. Areas of high cost, you reduce it, and areas of poor value, you reduce it. That does not mean that the information you've gotten in the workshop, they are not valid. No, they are all going into the lesson learned repository. That does not mean that somebody is smarter in that particular workshop. No, it's just that during this session, we have been able to discover better ways of driving down cost and increasing value. And then the third place, which is where engineers are supposed to be champions. That is where we should be the Hamilton of this particular project, the creative phase. We engineers have been made to be creative. That is when you do a team review of all the project idea listing, and then begin to put things together in perspective that yes, that's where the thinking comes in. All the plans are in the works now. That is where the thinking to make things happen begin to come. And then you go to the evaluation phase. The evaluation is just for you to look at we cross the T's and we dot the I's. We've been able to see the high level, the cost area, the high cost areas, and we're able to see where we can save costs here. And that is where you begin to generate possible, sorry about this, you begin to generate possible alternatives suitable for in-depth analysis. And all the time, we as engineers must be taking full front of this. Are you still with me?
Yes, yeah, but there's a black spot on your slides.
That's fine.
To refresh your slides.
Yes, can you see the slide now?
We can see the slide, but there's still a black, okay, it's disappeared now. It's okay.
Good, thank you very much. I'm having a problem with this laptop. Anyway, so that is where we begin to look at the development phase. You review the results of your analytical phase. You've been able to see options available to you. You've been able to investigate all the alternatives. There have been team review analysis. People have been able to talk. It's all about you putting something on the table. If you have nothing to put on the table, either good or bad, then you have no case or no need to be in the value engineering process workshop. If you are not there to say anything, and this is where we are talking about the fact that adding value does not mean that you are talking about positive things. There must have been a failure in your past project. What made it to fail? Let us know, because we don't want to create that same problem here. But if you keep mute in the evaluation process and we don't know, and we go through the same problem, that means we are carrying the cost of that mistake into the next project. And I think that is what really happens now to most projects. And then last but not the least, after the development phase, when you now put your presentation forward. And I'm really rounding up now. So definitely we can now begin to entertain questions. But I want us to look at the flow chart of how this works. And if there's nothing you can gain from this today, I want you to just remember this flow chart. This is a typical flow chart for value engineering workshop sessions. You start from the pre-workshop, whereby you look at the pre-study activities. Oh yeah, we met the client. How are you? What have you been doing? What's your problem? And then you go into this section, go to the workshop proper. The first stage is good.
Theo, you seem to have dropped out. So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about this. We've lost our presenter, but it will come back soon. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
give us a second.
Yes.
His connection is a bit slow, unless the NEPA have taken his light.
We can hear you.
No,
Yeah.
no worries. Okay, NEPA not there.
NEPA no there. Okay. Maybe he didn't pay his bill.
He's
Nah,
using an
nah,
old computer.
nah.
Maybe he forgot to pay his bill last month.
No, he's
Disco.
using an old system that crashes on him all the time.
Okay.
He needs to buy a new laptop.
Not mind you.
I beg, leave my chairman alone now.
Not mind you.
Engineer Kim, you're back from China.
No,
I beg, leave my chairman alone. Can let
no
him
mind you. Theo Naijebu man.
Nigerian man from Ikorodu.
You guys should buy the chairman a new laptop. He's a busy man.
It's all part of value engineering. His company refused to supply a new laptop after 5 years.
We'll come back. I'm sure
Chairman, where are you?
he will log on his phone.
Disappear.
In a few more minutes.
It's on a pilgrimage.
Don't fall off the chair.
This will be an ideal
you
time
guys
for
are
the
wicked.
president.
Why you do my chairman like this, self? Instead of saying you go do whip prank to buy a new laptop from value engineering, you did you did take now you dey take laugh up.
No, make una not blame chairman. Now in company fault. As they no one replace the laptop now.
Oh, my. Did you guys attend the investiture this morning? It's amazing. A new president being sworn in this morning and the executive.
The information was late.
I did not.
We all have a program. The information was posted late.
No, it wasn't late. It's been advertised for weeks now.
Well, I only saw it on the NSE team, NSE London, this morning or so.
Yeah, that's when we got
yesterday. Yesterday.
That's when we got the link.
So should have come up earlier than that.
Yeah, I'll speak to NSE headquarters and
you are the publicity secretary. I'm speaking to the publicity secretary. You go and tell them that this is what you said.
I can only share what I've got. If I haven't got it, I cannot share it.
Don't blame my doctor. Dr. Popola is doing very well.
Engineer Jala, thank you very much, Gary.
Tony, how much did you grease your palm with?
You people, please have respect for the president. If it's in Nigeria now, you will say excellency.
If there was no COVID, we go to a restaurant and eat some fish. Yes, but we don't.
I don't know. You may have.
I just spoke. Hello, guys.
Excellency Popola, carry on, Joe.
Hello, guys. I just spoke to the chairman. His system has crashed.
Okay. Oh my God! And he was going to send his slides to me, but
yeah,
tell him to log on. Tell him to log on his phone. You can just
to be fair with him, it was already rounding up.
Yeah.
Because
Ed, please tell him to connect on his phone, please.
Okay.
Yeah, let him connect on the phone. We already.
I'll send it.
Yeah, connect.
You can just call, and it was already rounding up anyway.
I'll send him the link.
Okay. He's about doing that now.
This is what happens with technology, you know.
And let him just.
About doing that now. Don't worry, I go yabba.
No. The problem now the company, you know, it gets to a stage when you work with company, you get used to being given company laptop that you forget to buy your own.
That's part of value management and engineering.
Oh, there you are. Yes. I think you overdid it.
Yeah. Because
who's making excuses for my chairman?
Company
laptop. Who's that making excuses for my chairman?
What do you want me to do? Nah, because I know say that's how company works anyway. We all forget it.
So I've never used my laptop for the past 5 months. Take your laptop back.
No, that's the funny thing. Is when you are now leaving the company, you now realize you don't have laptop. That is your wife and your children that have laptop.
I don't know the name of this person. The person they talk from experience.
Yes, you can get the person talking is on your behalf.
I think that's correct, isn't it? That's true.
Yes, because it's based on experience. And when I moved from my former company, Jacobs, and I was going, I now realized I didn't have my own personal company.
That is it.
So I had to get mine immediately.
You're right. You are totally right. My own laptop is gathering dust.
Yeah. I had to be frank, I had to get my laptop immediately. And then by the time I joined my present company, and now of course you now have 2 laptops, but you know you have your own.
Bosu is now connecting to his phone.
No, I'm gonna try and connect him to one of my phones.
He said he was trying to connect.
I'll connect him. I will connect him to one of my phones.
He has round up. Let him can just come discussion and just discuss.
Our fatherland, Shegun. Happy New Year to you.
No, if not, you can speak through this phone.
I thought maybe my
You can speak through this phone. I'll put you on speaker on this phone.
Yeah, but you have the slide with you.
No, you're almost there at the end of your slides. Yeah, yeah, okay. You can continue.
1 second.
I can't see you. I can't.
The problem with value engineering is the problem with value engineering is that you can overdo it and it becomes a problem. It's true. You can overvalue and it costs you more later.
Yes. No, you are right. That's the principle.
That's correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been through those things. You know, you overvalue and it becomes more of a problem.
Yeah, but you see, there is a different approach right now, which is ongoing. It's the value engineering is a principle of what you call lean principle.
Yeah.
And lean is the major thing right now.
Yeah.
Value engineering is just one.
Yeah, lean construction.
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, engineers, our chairman is coming back. Yeah, two methods to come back. One of them will work. He's trying to reconnect at the same time. He's talking to one of my phones. So if you all keep quiet and mute yourself, we should be able to hear him. There's no more slide for him just to show, but we should be able to hear him. So please just mute yourself, all of us. Okay, Bosun, go ahead.
Right. Sorry about that glitch. Because from the network disruption there. I'm still trying to show this slide if it comes on, but let's just look at what we can talk about. So I was talking about the fact that we have a brainstorming session, which will be participated by every stakeholder, as it were. That is where we as engineers must always be articulate when we come to that brainstorming session. And I believe definitely we have to work with us as engineers to be creative. The main idea of this, and I'm passionate about this, for us to be creative. We just don't want to just sit back and just think it is just business as usual. We need to begin to look at ways of cutting costs down in our designs, cutting costs down in our areas of maybe implementation, but at the same time, putting things together to source cheaper materials for what we are building. The world is not going to wait on us as engineers to turn the world around on our own. No. But the world will definitely want us to come up to collaborate with them. To us, as engineers, talk to people, see whatever ideas they've got, and then we begin to see how we can work together with them, and then see how we can make things work. I'm trying to kind of show again, if possible. Yes, I think it's coming on now. I don't want us to show I want us to go through the flow chart together, and then we can round up, and then I can take questions. Good. I hope I still got it right. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you need to come up. You need to come up this thing.
Yeah, I'm coming up with that. Can you still hear me, please?
Well, we've got our president, our chairman back.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Right. Can we see the screen?
Yes, we can.
I'm going to round up from there. So like I said, if it passes the evaluation phase, it goes straight into development. However, if it does not pass, then you go back into the creative phase, and then it goes through that loop again. So, but if it goes through development stage, you go straight into presentation. Everybody is happy with what you have developed. And then you can give that presentation in-house, first of all, before you give it to even the stakeholders outside. So what do? You do an internal presentation, first of all. Once that is done, and everybody is happy with what we have presented, there is no gray area. We all understand what we want to do. Definitely, we go straight into implementation. However, if anybody in the workshop is still not clear of what we want to do, then we still go back into the creative phase. Because the idea is for us to have that brainstorming session, and everybody comes out of that brainstorming session clear on what we want to do, clear on what we have decided to do. So until we are happy, and the reason why I'm talking to us as engineers this year is that we are at the hub, the creative phase of the project. You are not, don't think you are just a dot in the project management cadre. No, you are at the hub. That is where you are the thinker. Other people are just to kind of implement and feed into what you have got. You are supposed to be thinking. I want to use steel beam. Engineer can steel beam work. I want to use concrete beam. Engineer can concrete beam work. So we can see the loop goes on that until everybody is happy. You make your presentation, and then it goes into implementation, and then it goes into follow-up. And then once you have got to follow up and everybody is happy about that, you need to put all those documentations, all those minutes and deliberations of the brainstorming session into a lesson learned log, a catalog. Why? You might need it for the next project. That is why most projects fail, because they don't have any lesson learned to learn from. Always make sure you bank all your brainstorming and workshop sections in a lesson learned log. The findings may come in useful very, very soon in the future. So what are we saying? What are the benefits of value engineering? We know definitely it enhances project managers' capability to manage. Yes, because the project manager is a facilitator. The engineer is the hub, the heartbeat of the whole workshop, and then everybody is feeding into it. And then secondly, what happens? Let me just click on that. I don't need that. Oops. So we are the hub all the time, and we need to always make sure we are there at the hub all the time.
We've lost your slides again. Yeah.
The slide has gone again. No.
If you don't need it, just keep
I don't really need it, but just need to kind of see if I've touched on everything. That's fine, and then we can round up. Yes, that's fine. I got that. Yep, that's it.
You're going to the summary of the benefits.
Yeah, can you see it?
No.
No.
I'm going to make you see it now.
No, you just go through it.
Just round up. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm done. Yeah. Improve design collaboration among stakeholders. We can't overemphasize that. Problem-solving environment. Look at the workshop sessions and you can get results. Promote creative innovations. There's going to be a lot of cohesive team communication strategy. There's going to be cost saving. There's going to be risk reduction. And then definitely, greatest of all, which is what I am always looking forward to, are schedule improvements. You can now build the job even faster because everybody has a clue what we want to do. Even the dumbest person in the team has an idea of what you want to do because there's been a session for value engineering. So in a nutshell, let me just take you back to what we are talking about. Value engineering is all about collaboration. It's all about coming together of many people from end to end. It's all about you begin to look at lesson learned. It took its place from the time of the World War II, where they had to use available resources to get whatever they wanted to get. It's all about you putting so much gain in terms of cost savings at the beginning of the project itself. It's all about us beginning to work together in workshops, lesson learned information from the cradle down to presenting ideas and alternatives, which is the grave. It's all about us also innovating how we can gel together as a team. We don't just eliminate anybody, we make sure everybody is in the loop of what we are doing. Everybody is aware. And it's all about us at the same time begin to have a schedule that is well improved in terms of cost. However, the downside of value engineering is that I'll just tell you one downside, and I'm sure definitely you will understand what I'm saying. The downside of value engineering is it creates transparency. It creates transparencies. In some quarters that we know, they don't want that to happen. So if you have project team that don't want transparency, then they will never let value engineering work. But as far as you want to create transparency, clarity, and you want to begin to look at how you can add value to products, value engineering sessions, very, very key. Before we ask questions, I don't want to implore us as engineers this year. In our teams, when we go back to work, let's begin to strive hard for value engineering. Let's begin to discuss with people in our, even at TBRIC, you guys know about value engineering. Let's begin to sensitize as engineers. And before you know what's happening, not only are you adding value to yourself in terms of credibility, that you know what you are doing as an engineer, you are also adding value to your team. Thank you very much. So much apologies about the glitch. I think that my laptop needs some value engineering as well.
Thank you very much, engineer.
And I can stop sharing there.
Thank you very much, Engineer Odunlami, for your presentation. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for quality glitch that we have in the video. Everybody is always the case. This is age of technology, and very right. If I've had a copy of his presentation, maybe we could have got him back earlier, but never mind. You've given us an amazing introduction to value engineering. I mean, before when I see it or when people talk about it, I always think of, oh yeah, they're just trying to cut costs. This is a way of reducing cost of cement or not mixing the proportion of the concrete, right, just to save some money here and there, and then by the time you do it's not just costing, it's actually a better way to create innovation. And this transparency that you mentioned, because once you're not able to what you're doing with your and you also mentioned
Mr. Mensa, can you mute yourself, please? Mensa Robert, mute yourself, please.
I just need to mute some people. Sorry, guys. Right. You were saying that these things that you have to lesson learned that you have to prepare at the end of each project is very, very important. It's like revision. So before you go into a new project, you go and look at the lesson learned that somebody's done. Basically, he's doing revision on somebody's handout, whatever. And then you apply that to make sure you don't make the same mistake or to make sure you can do things even much better than they've done. So for me, that's really good, and thank you for sharing those experiences with us. Now let's go into Q&A. I mean, some people have typed some questions into the chat, but I prefer to actually talk. But the first one is Engineer Kim, you're talking about how do you guarantee quality? You want to ask your question, please?
Yes, it was stressing about alternative material. And my question is basically how will you guarantee quality and performance on material that has not been tried and tested with your Q value engineering?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And that is where definitely as engineers, we need to begin to expand our cost of learning and begin to see how we can even, sorry?
Go on, yeah. Go on.
How we can get more information for ourselves. Now, like I said, in the second stage of value engineering process, when you have the workshop itself, it's full of so many people. You postulate a particular material for the construction. It has not been tested before, right? And then you look at the cost. Whatever happens, that particular material has not been tested, but it's going to do a lot of work in bringing down the cost of the building. Then what do? And that is why, like I said earlier on, lesson learned is very, very important. All we need to do is just to find out the research on how it has been done before. Has anybody done it before? How can we get it done? you can bring in that consultant who has done it before to come into that particular value engineering session and share the ideas. How was I able to tell it? There was a particular time on one of the projects for my former company, and someone came with an idea that we could use recycled tires to do rail slippers. And everybody said, no, what do you mean? It's not done before. You know what? Lo and behold, during the session, someone was able to get in touch with a company in England that does it. Recycled tires for rail slippers. That was the first time in that meeting I heard about it. But someone just said he was not able to, it was the quality. And they came into the presentation. If I have the company that does recycled tires for rail slippers, we use it on one of our Croydon projects. It's there on the tramway for Croydon. If you want to see it, you can go to Croydon. And you know what? They gave us all the facts, they gave us all the documentations, they gave us the guarantee, they gave us all the tests that this is what is happening. We have tested it before. And you know what? It's far, far cheaper than even getting the steel. It's heavier. That's how you do. You expand your knowledge. You just don't sit there and take no for an answer. The other time there was a major discussion on our forum about using bamboos for what? For bridges. I'm sure that many of us have never learned about that before. But it came out in that discussion, and what did the engineers do? They went and dug into research that brought up so many facts about using bamboo, and they even showed pictures whereby bamboos are being used as what? As bridges in rural areas. And these bamboo bridges were able to even carry cars. Is that not true? But before that, whoever thought about bamboos being used together to make a bridge? So, Engineer Akim, you are right, definitely. There should always be an issue for quality. There should always be an issue for performance. And that is why we are in that brain session, because people are there who are there to answer that particular question for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Engineer Sunny Obian, please.
Engineer Sunday.
Yeah. My is just is the right that just in support of what you said right from the beginning, in terms of the insistence on value engineering right now, because in UK, in most cases, like you are in the beauty industry itself, there is this thing within the infrastructure project now where they call lean principles, which is based on lean construction principle.
That's right.
Big organizations like Highways England, they are insisting now that lean is part of when you're bidding for contract. If lean is not part of your company's policy, lean now plays a role in assessing whether you win a tender or not within the Highways England. So the principle of value engineering is partly part of lean principle, which everything about lean itself is to save cost and at good quality, eliminate waste, create knowledge, defer commitment, and deliver fast. Then you optimize the whole thing. So generally, I think the value, what you rightly said is, most of these things are now becoming part and parcel of you remaining as a company or you losing out as a company. So the value engineering is now becoming an essential principle, which most companies have to take into consideration. And I think it's becoming part and parcel of most engineers now who work for big consulting firms in the UK.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Engineer Eddie, please.
Can you help us mute that person, please?
Okay, 1 second. Engineer Ed from Brixton or California, wherever you are. I think it's gone off. Right, okay. Can I call Dr. Moses, please?
Dr. P.
Dr. Moses, yes, your question, please.
Okay, my question, when I looked at the cycle of value engineering that Dr. Dawson put up, it seems to have terminated in operations and maintenance. I was wondering why decommissioning and reuse is not considered part of the life cycle in value engineering management.
Thank you for what I've just said. As a matter of fact, we look at value engineering, and this is, I'm looking at from my own practical point of view now. You're looking at decommissioning as part of your project phase, but then you're not considering it as part of value engineering because you believe that all you need to do is to make a presentation. Like I said in the flow chart, you make a presentation. This is what we want to build this particular thing. You make a presentation. This is how much it's going to cost you to build. These are the materials we are showing to say you're going to work for this, right? Now, going about the commissioning definitely is a different phase altogether. And I'm going to now take it away to what Engineer Behal said earlier on about lean. Lean is the advanced level of value engineering. Value engineering is embedded in lean. In lean, you now look at the holistic of the whole project, talking about health and safety, talking about access to political issues and stuff like that. So how savvy are you with politics? How known are you in the environment? Lean will look at all that. But value engineering is just the hub for the engineers to contribute to what? To the implementation of that particular product. That doesn't much value is brought into that product. It does what it does, it's fit for purpose, but is produced at the lowest cost. You can now take it further after the presentation, and then you go straight into the decommissioning, and then you go straight into lean session.
All right, thank you very much. The next one is a very interesting one. I'll get the engineer to ask the question himself. Engineer Wale, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just happen to be a bit bothered while transparency is considered the downside in value engineering. It bothers me, bothers my thinking, and makes me wonder where we are going.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Wale. And I will let you know why from experience that transparency is a downside. I mean, when I talk about value engineering, remember I said the contract has not been awarded. We are in the planning phase. Everybody coming together, Balfour Beatty, Julius Baja, Langorock, Taylor Woodrow, everybody's just brainstorming, drinking coffee and tea. Everybody's speaking their grammar. They have brought all their big guns who have been in the business for 50 years, you know. But you know what? For you to really get the juice of experience, right, there may be some few things that this guy may not want to tell you in that particular session. Even though they are meant to be transparent enough, there will be some even things that they don't want to say, look, we don't want people to know about this and stuff like that. But eventually, definitely it's going to come up because we will know from those companies. So one way or the other, people don't want to say, maybe, for example, maybe a company is so good at risk management, and that is their joker. That is the joker. They know they can win jobs with their risk management and stuff like that. They don't want to let all their cards on the table for everybody to know at a session like that. More so when they don't even know if they are going to win the job. So there is one thing you need to do to really let them. And you know what? At the end of the day, like I said earlier on, it comes out that definitely you find two particular companies so good at what you have just said because they got the experience, but you can't just screen them out. And what happens? You tell them, you know what, you guys need to form JV. For example, Mace, you are good at project management. And then Langoro, you guys are good at construction management. Can you form a joint V to do this job together? You know, and then your risk management structure definitely tailors into add value into this particular project. We don't want to let you go. Can you just partner with this person to do this project? So one way or the other, everybody wants to keep their
maybe you call it trade secrets.
Exactly.
Trade secrets. Okay.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm more comfortable with the word with trade secrets rather than the use of transparency. Transparency.
I think it's to gain competitive advantage over the next one.
Absolutely.
So I think that's just basically what it is. Exactly. Because I experienced that on M25 when we have different contractors. So they don't always open up all their cards. So in order to gain competitive advantage over the other, because you still have to put a contract out for them to tender. So to gain a competitive advantage, so they won't tell you all the information you need.
Absolutely. I've been on a project on the Olympics project. We had the Olympics about with Langorock, CH2, M Hill, and then we had Mace. that form the CLM JV, right? I mean, these are big players in their industries, you know, and we could see the tension even in that JV that everybody, like you said, they didn't want to put all their cards on the table. They just say, okay, can you guys handle that aspect, Langerock? I said, yeah, we can do it. How do you want to do it? Don't worry, we can do it. We've done it before. Don't worry, we can do it. Because these are the things that we always look at. That look, it's a downside, but once you know you are fighting for the same thing, and you're on the client side, the client definitely needs to have a level of confidence in you guys that are going to deliver at the cheapest cost. So we've been trying to kind of overcome that, like you said, trade secret, like you said, you want to get a competitive edge. The competition is not yet there. We are just locking in the value now. You don't even know whether you're going to get the job anyway. You don't even know whether it's going to be feasible anyway. And that is where it comes in. So, and you know, definitely for the value engineering workshops, they are paid for their time. You know, they are paid. They get paid for coming to the workshops anyway. So definitely it's not because they are doing it free. Thanks for that, Akim. Right. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I can't see any other question, but I have one for you, which is since you've been talking, I've been sort of trying to figure it out myself. You talked earlier about using modular construction. You also talk about using just-in-time construction. Langerock uses that quite a lot. We got a big warehouse on M25 somewhere. They stock up all their materials. So whenever the project comes in, boom,
they get it there.
And then you talk about all life costing. How do you balance all of this with this value engineering? Because sometime when you're talking about modular, this module will have had to be, you know, manufactured ready well in advance before the site work even started, so that when it starts to come in, it's like they were prepared last night and they're just coming into site.
That's so right.
Balance it if you really want to achieve this.
Let me give a very good example, which practically I was involved in on the Terminal 2 project. And I can tell you all the travelators and the escalators on the Terminal 2 project today, they were all made in Germany. Everything was made in Germany. And I can tell you, even before, this is Bosu telling you, even before we did the slab where the elevators were going to sit, these travelators and escalators, they were already sitting in the warehouse in Germany. So the idea of value engineering is, you know what? Don't reinvent the wheel. Go and measure what they've done in Germany, and that is what you design. Simple.
So you have information on that particular.
Absolutely, yes. You have it already. Okay. Exactly. You have it already. If, for example, now you want to build a garage, you need to know the size of the car first before you build the garage, isn't it? And that is it. You've added value, because there's no way. You look at it two ways, which is easier to do. For them to have done the travelators already, and then you measure it, and then you do your slab. Or for you to just do the slab and tell the guy to come and measure your slab hole and then do their travelator. It's going to be more difficult for them to do.
That's a very, very good point there. Let's just go back to what we were discussing. I'm going to digress a bit. Go back to what we were discussing on the platform earlier this week.
Yeah.
With Lagos State acquiring these train carriages that were making.
I don't want to go through that now, but if you want me to go through that, we'll let you know. Okay, go on.
No. I'm just trying to use your value engineering again from what you just said. Those carriages were manufactured about 2 years ago, and these red line, blue line have been, designed already and been built more than 2 years ago.
Good.
And then the acquirement of this carriage just came on recently.
That's right.
I hope somebody have done their link to make sure this carriage will fit the rail line that's been built.
That's why I told you definitely I don't want to mention that, because I don't know how much of value engineering to see the specification of our red line or the blue line and see what the specification of the trains are. Are they compatible? Is that what we want? Is that what it's going to be? Right. And I just gave you a very good example of one of the travelators now. Everybody knows Schindler. They've got they've got, you want lift, they've got it there. Just tell it's like off the shelf. In fact, on the program, it was called off the shelf. Big, massive travelator off the shelf. All you need to do is just to form your design for the off the shelf, and once it comes, and the day they were placing the travelators and I was there in the night, the crane just put it, pump, and the thing just sat down there, and that was it. And they just acroed it, done. And they left it for just testing and wiring and everything. So that is one of the things we need to understand. Even the lifts, all the carriage cars, they were just bringing them to site with trailers and just fix them in because they were already there, because we just needed to measure it and to fit in. Sometimes in value engineering, you do backward engineering as well.
I wonder if Engineer Shagumati want to contribute to this conversation.
I got Tony Ajala on the line there.
Yes, sir. Is he raising up his hand?
Yes.
Okay, Engineer Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Bosun, for this talk on value engineering, and I'm a great believer in what we call value management, which also equal to value engineering and value for money, especially for those of us working in the public sector.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't know how to manage your project properly, you will not get it. I'm dealing with one now where people wanted to reconstruct a crossover to break up the concrete when the concrete is already is good enough to carry up asphalt. And they said they should break it. I said, this is not value engineering. Think about it. And also, one thing is that, when you look at value engineering and value for money, and then you have to also look at the whole life costing of that project. For example, let's say, HRA will last you 12 years, and stone mastic asphalt will last you 10 years. And one will cost you 25 pounds, other will cost you 35 pounds. Which one are you going to go for? Because when I work it out, the SMA for 35,000 pounds will last me 14 years. All those type of things you have to put into factor. And now the engineers are now using COVID as an excuse. They don't go out. They only look at the design in the office, and they want to construct. They want to implement. That's what they call work, talk, and build. Go out with your project team. Do some brainstorming. Look at what is going on site. Stop constructing through the paper. Cannot bring value engineering by looking at just detailed design in the office. You need to be out there with your project team and your contractors.
Thank you so much for that.
Engineer Akim, please. Engineer Akim, you raise up your hand.
No, and I've lowered the hand as well.
Oh, sorry.
Dr. P.
So please.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Can I ask another question, Dr. P?
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I'm thinking about your equation, value is function of our cost.
Yes, sir.
Is it always the case that you can reduce cost and maintain the same functionality?
Very good question. Very, very good question. Very, very good question. I really, how can I say it? I'm quite delighted you asked that. Yes, it is very, very possible for you to reduce cost and do what? And make the same functionality. Let me give you a typical example, a very good example, right? All of a sudden, definitely, you have a contractor who has got a warehouse, like Dr. Popola said, he has got a warehouse full of these modular units. It does not have to go and do what? To build a new one, which is going to take around 6 months. And then you have another contractor who is giving you a cost that I will need 2 days to mobilize, then another 6 months for me to build this modular unit. Right. It's the same modular unit, everybody has seen it, but somebody is having it there in his shed that he can just bring it. The only thing that is going to cost is what? Logistic cost for transportation, which is cheaper, sir. The one that is there waiting for you. And that is why, like Engineer Tony said, engineers must get to site. You need to shop around and talk to people. Who's got this? Who's got that? That is how you can bring in cost. That is how you can. Let me ask us a question, sir. Why do you think Boeing, when they want to build their airplanes, all the parts come from different parts of all the world? Why not come from their own country? Because they know that it is not feasibly cheap for them to build it in their, they can't. The Germans can build everything if they want to. The Danes can do whatever they want to do. The British can do it. But they get so many countries to do it because they look at it in the sense that, you know what, it's cheaper for us to do that. Let them do it together there. And then while we are doing the hub, yeah, they are doing the wings, right? So they bring it in, that is it. The moment they bring it in, they just couple it. Go on the YouTube, you see how they couple aeroplanes together. It's like Lego, bringing it from different areas, sir. So it's like you making, like we said, like I said earlier on the brainstorming session of VAE, you look for alternatives, cheaper alternatives. Someone has got it somewhere they're lying there. Like I said, the Schindler guys, why should I now pay somebody who's going to take another 7 months to build a travelator when Schindler has got it waiting there in their own backyard? All I can do is to remodel my design to what Schindler has got. That is value engineering. Guess what? It's still going to do the same function, carry you from one floor to the other. No, when you go on the lift now, you don't care where it comes from, do you? No, it does the function. But for you to get it there, you have reduced the cost. That is the way engineers must begin to think.
Very good. Engineer Sunny.
Yeah, I'm just trying to contribute from the point of view of what Theo has said, and looking at it, looking at the whole life cycle. It's yes, by the time you finish the value engineering, like you rightly put it, and there's cost down, or there's cost reduction due to materials and the rest. But what tends to happen within Lean principle is they also look at the whole life cycle, and that's where the cost of maintenance, the design life, everything is taken into consideration. If you change your material, and they think just by valuing that, reducing costs here is going to affect the whole life cycle, then if you go back to what the value engineering, at times it is eliminated. It may be value for cost, but again, looking at the whole life cycle, it may not work. And that's why you don't look at value engineering in isolation from Lean principle. Because
thank you very much for that.
The value engineering is part of all Lean principle. It encompasses. And so you're looking at that cycle round. It just forms part of it. But you need to do it because it is essential, because at times, like you rightly put it, because these products are down, they're already there, and the rest, you have program, you have less, you save on program, you save on price, all these things count. And so at the end of the day, the whole life cycle is looked at basically on Lean principle. It's just that we all as engineers need to embed it and just know that it's not only one functionality, it forms part of every other thing, which we all need to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to allow 1 or 2 more questions. Engineer Falabi, please.
Thank you, Doctor. And thank you for the previous statement, because that's really where I was going to pitch my question on. You see, in this value engineering stuff, a lot of it is done on the earlier part of the life cycle, and then subsequently added on as we move along. But one thing, when you do something on the early part of the life cycle, what you're really, really looking for is for the capital cost. You're not looking at the previous gentleman mentioned, you're not looking at what you call the support cost, the maintenance, the operational, because those ones are a little bit difficult to align with your value engineering. Because when you look at the value engineering from a project management point of view, you're looking at the functionality. The functionality only open up a little bit earlier on in the initial stage of your life cycle. So you can get a little bit feel for it. And it's a function we're talking about here. It has not been built, it has not been tested, we don't know how it's going to be supported, but we get that feel because it's a requirement that we're trying to look at. So we can put all the data at the early on and everything look rosy. However, the danger with this is that if you're not really stable with your life cycle cost, the value engineering is only looking at it at the early stages. What one needs to do is to do comparison aspects in the sense that you need to know your functionality right to the little bit of your code to ensure that you got all the costing right, you're getting value for money, you're getting quality, because innovation comes into the functionality as well. And all these things need to be building so that the benefit realization at the end when you're operating it comes into it. This is not a small issue. It's a big life cycle cost. And people can get into this kind of an idea that, oh yeah, if we do the earlier cost benefit analysis for it, we get the whole idea. No, it's got to be a totality. And that's one thing about value engineering that we people need to be aware of. It's a totality thing, and it's a constant thing. Only when you get into the operational aspect and using the system, then you begin to see the other cost that comes into the overall thing. So you can't just do it at the beginning, you got to do it throughout the life cycle of the project. That was just my 10 pennies worth.
Thank you very much, Engineer Deochu. However, I need to kind of emphasize at this time, definitely. If you look at the chart I showed the last time, the whole essence of locking in the value into that project is up to the end of before you even execute. Whatever happens after execution, because definitely there are going to be risks that are going to come in, unforeseen risks that you never even planned for. There are going to be, for most of us that work on the NEC contract, there are going to be many things that are going to be early warning notice that will just maybe let the cost spiral. Now you begin to look at project controls from that particular end. How do I lock in this value? But from before you even deliver, I have locked in the value. This is the baseline cost. And I'm going to give you a very good example. A very good example was the Olympics. I was on that project and I know exactly what I'm talking about. The very good example was the Olympics. The Olympics, they did a lot of value engineering on it and it was going to call 9.6. We all know about that. Everybody was singing that 9.6 in my office. 9.6, 9.6. And they have a particular date for you to deliver. The quality, the value engineering has been locked in. All of a sudden, you know what happened? Recession came. Recession came.
You cannot predict that. Okay.
You can't predict that. But do you know what? We still finished that project below 9.6. You know why? All of a sudden, what happens? The moment you finish your own job as maybe a contractor and we don't need you, they kick you out immediately. That cost is gone. Secondly, they are supposed to build 3 stadiums. They only built 1 and they just downscope the other one. Most of the—
So you reduce the requirements.
Exactly. I don't want to say they are irrelevant sports like yachting, like boating, like all these things that they just use one of these swimming pool to do those events, you know. Number 3 that I know very well, which I really participated in all my life there, the bridges connecting to the stadium was supposed to be, we constructed to be 8 meters wide. 8 meters wide. If you go there now, they're only 4 meters because there was no 8 meters was for the crowd. After the Olympics, you don't need 8 meters. What do you need 8 meters wide bridge for? So they just did something temporal for the 4 meters. That was a temporary sort of for the bridge. The moment the Olympics was finished, they moved what? They moved the, They moved the 4 meters away. Last but not the least, where it was so interesting, look at the Olympics village for the athletes. It was meant to be a state of the art. For where? No, it can't be a state of the art. We don't have the money for it. So what did they do? They changed the design and they only did a functional bedroom as a flat with a space to put kitchen and toilet. And guess what? The moment they finished the Olympics, those blocks of flats have been converted now with toilets and kitchen there, and they have been let out and sold to some people. That is how you think about value engineering when you cannot deal with the cost. But you know what? I can tell you the Olympics still finished on time and it is finished within budget.
But we get a danger here. They get a danger here because when you're talking about benefit realization and the business case, this is quite important because you will lock in your benefit to be realized on this. And your benefit to be realized are the end users, what they're going to gain from it, and all that sort of thing. If you start reducing your functionality to ensure you get this value engineering, at the end of the day, what are you literally doing? You're descaling your business case, and at the same time, your benefit to be realized is being reduced. So how do you get that value at the end of it? Because at the end of it all is value engineering we're talking about. We're talking about cost per quality. It's what we're really talking about. Cost per quality. And we're getting benefit from that cost per quality. If you're reducing the quality, wow, what are you doing to that function? You're literally reducing your quality to cost.
Yes. I think you mentioned, that's a very good point. You mentioned something that is very apt right there. Do you know that in functionality, the number 1 thing you need to deal with is quality?
Of course.
Quality is paramount.
It's part and parcel.
Good.
Yes.
So basically what you look at, like a very good example I gave about the Olympics Village, it was fit for purpose for the athletes. Come in there, sleep, they don't need to eat. There was a dining place, big one downstairs for everybody. And that was supposed to be in the legacy. So they still used it while they were there. The functionality was still intact. The value engineering was still locked in there. The athletes were happy. Everybody was happy with it. But the moment the Olympics finished, that was when the legacy part of the project came in. The legacy was now beginning to creep in by putting kitchens, by expanding that place for the people to come and buy it or even live in there, by removing the 4-meter span of the bridges. And you can see that the main idea then was, you know what, we cannot over budget, we cannot overshoot our budget, but we're still going to present. And you know what, you know that definitely if there was no recession, they would have spent more money on the Olympics than they did. Do you agree?
And then you will have realized that the benefit will have been realized more, the quality will have been better. So
And
you're getting higher aspect to it. So
I understand. And guess what? Are you now saying that definitely it was not a successful program? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you can see what I'm talking about. So you really realize what you wanted to do, because at the end of the day, it was one of the best they've ever had within the recession period.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I believe they did, because I was involved in some of the instructions.
I love this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I think they planned for legacy as well. So all those money they didn't have during recession, once the Olympic is finished and they're able to sell this property, more money comes in, and that's how they're able to convert this property to something that they could then, have more money to. If you go in there now, it's an amazing place to live.
I'm telling you, the quality is top notch.
Change it to very little.
Even the roads.
I'm going to allow
maybe 2 more.
Allow a single female to contribute towards this, and I know there's quite a few on the webinar. So I'm gonna call on Engineer May or Engineer. I've got 2 people here to say a word or two, so that we don't make it a melting. We've been talking for 2 hours now, and not a single female have contributed. Olubukola, Galaxy A51, you want to say a word? Let's hear your voice. Or Engineer May, our Secretary General.
I would love to hear from Engineer May. Engineer May, say something.
She's there. Unmute yourself, please.
You've put me, you've thrown me into the deep side like that. Dr. P.
Before.
Okay. I hope you can hear me, because I'm working right now. I had to leave and start. That's why I changed from my whatever to my iPhone. And that was really an excellent talk. I enjoyed listening to. I think for me, where it comes through is looking at our water and sanitation projects and the people who raised issues on life cycle as well. I was quite interested and keen, because when I saw the diagram, I just saw it ended in operation and maintenance, and I was thinking, okay, so what's happening here? But I think that has been clarified through all the ongoing discussion. So it's good to know that even the end of life is very critical in all that we conceptualize in the whole value engineering and things. So thank you very much. That was quite eye-opening. The whole talk itself.
You're welcome. Engineer Olubukola, or is it the husband or the boyfriend that's using her for? Engineer Olubukola, are you there? All right, if you're not, that's fine. Thank you very much, Engineer Dr. May, for that contribution. I'm going to allow this man from China to make the final question. Engineer Kim, he's been raising up his hands.
Sorry, Dr. P, let me just add quickly as well. As we're talking of life cycle as well, nowadays people are always encouraged to think about the water life cycle. Every product that they use in the engineering process, how much water is consumed along the process, how much water is produced in manufacturing, how much water is consumed in decommissioning and all that. So just to have that at the back of our mind as well, because water is very critical and important now, especially as it has become a very scarce resource. So we should always have that equally at the back of our minds. Thank you.
Thank you. Water and food. In the next 5-6 years, we're going to be paying a lot for it. Engineer Kim.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure whether I had right. Somebody during the answering question was saying something about whole life car costing does not include lifestyle reuse and something else. I'm not sure whether I had right, but if I did had right, I think that is not completely right. Whole life costing. Sorry.
No, we were talking. I think what was mentioned was the fact that value engineering was meant to be locked in before even execution itself. You get the benefit of value engineering before execution, even implementation, even when before you get to site. So once you get to site, all you need to now use project control methodology to really put in and lock in that value.
All right, maybe I had wrong.
Yes,
but this value engineering, that's why I said I'm not sure whether I had right. But this value engineering is more or less like whole life cycle, which will front load everything before you get onto construction or design.
Absolutely. And
so
then once you now get to construction, you make sure you don't lose that value, because if you are sloppy during construction, you will lose that value. Is that not true? Yes, you will lose the value you are losing. So you make sure, and that is why project controls kicks in. Project control controls that project to make sure that the value you have locked in, you are not losing it. For example, if you start delaying on your schedule, you are losing money. You know?
Yes, if you do that, but sometimes there are in construction, there are times without outside your control, and I think is one of the reasons why we've gone away from traditional method of procurement into all this joint venture and build, design and build and all those stuff. It's just because traditional form of contracting is always problematic, because you have designed it and then you look for a contractor, and that's why you bring all of them in at the early stage to iron all these things out and find the cheapest and the most effective way of doing the building and the afterlife use.
Of course.
Right. Thank you very much. We're gonna have to wrap up now. I mean, it's been almost 2 hours there. Started 20 past, it's now 16 past 4 o'clock. Thank you very much to everybody there.
If I can say, before you wrap up, I can just say one thing. I just want to say thank you so much. Apologies for the glitches and everything. But the main idea of this webinar today about value-added engineering is to awake the engineering spirit in us as engineers. We are not small people in the project. We just don't leave it to the project manager alone. Sorry, I've been there so many times, I can wear the two caps. I can say that definitely the project manager is just the coordinator, as we know, but the engineer is the thinker. You are the hub, you are the heart of the project. And I want to challenge all of us as engineers, starting from this, begin to see yourself as the hub of that project. Begin to think about innovative ideas to add value, better ways of doing stuff. You know, things that, you know, definitely, it can be in time. We can do it cheaper, we can do it faster. We can do, it's not only about acceleration of the project, no, things that we can do even before we get to site. Let's begin to have that thinking cap on when we go to meetings. In fact, by the time you mention value engineering to one or two of your line managers, they will begin to say, you are making, the whole of TFL is about value engineering. The whole of TFL, because the mayor does not have much money to be giving you for money all the time, and then you have to come, you go and make money too to get yourself. So you have to make sure you watch how much you spend. So please, let's sensitize ourselves as engineers. It's not going to be business as usual anymore. We fold our arms and just look at drawings and then say, oh, that's the end of the story. Let's go out there on site. Let's read. Let's do some research. I'm doing a project that they're using modular products. Who has done modular products before? Go on the internet, educate yourself. Who has done it before? How have they done it? Is there a better way or cheaper way of doing it? There's no point of you going to give Julius Berger modular product when Dr. Bukola can do it cheaper for you. You know that for sure.
Cheaper?
I mean, that's just the way I look at it, you know. So I believe definitely it's an eye-opener for us engineers to begin to look at value as we go every day into our business. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you very much. You've done my work for me there. I was going to wrap up on summarize it better than that.
Give me free advert now, Sonny. Dr. Sunday, give me free advert. I'll be lead practitioner.
I see your mic coming on, man.
So I don't do my advert. Apart from being a technical engineer, I'll be lead practitioner.
So please, we you know we have a lot of programs ahead for us today. Our publicity director will be telling us more about it on our forums. So he has let the cat out of the bag. We are partnering with African Child, and definitely we are going to be in that project before summer by God's grace. We are intensifying also on going on a school project as well. Not only sponsoring the girls, we are also interacting with school to mentor them. We are using our STEM springboard by Dr. Bukwola to initiate them into engineering and technical education. So we need your support financially, we need your support physically, and we need your support to add value to this branch. We need to begin to add value to this branch. And I know we can do it. So please, let's work together. So Dr. Bukwola, you can round up for us, sir.
Sure.
Finally.
All right, thank you very much, my chairman. He doesn't like me calling him chairman. He thinks somebody else is the chairman. You're chairman of the rest of the year. Right, thank you for this amazing conversation or webinar in terms of value analysis and value engineering. You've shown us a multidisciplinary, systematic and intellectual way to reduce costs on projects, be it construction, be it IT, healthcare, even look at coronavirus. You know, there's a big project behind those vaccination and all those things they were doing. How can we reduce costs? How can we save value? How can you make things better? And you know, you also apply to our country. I read 2 days ago that the oil that we're importing, you know, we sell the crude oil out and then we import the refined oil. That the refined oil we're importing, some of them are worse than the one that the Niger Delta boys are doing themselves. So you can imagine. We think we're bringing valuable stuff in. We're not. We're just giving all our resources away. So thank you very much for that. It's been an interesting conversation and plenty of questions and contribution also. You know, and the fact that this lesson learned, which is something we're not very good at, especially back home, writing a story or history of what we've been through, so that other people will come behind and read before they start a new project. I think this is something we also need to make people aware of, or make engineers aware of, so that they can start to do that. You know, leave something behind for others to come in and pick it up and do better. We've definitely, you know, added value to NSE webinar today. There's no question about that. I mean, when you suggested it, I thought it was a softer subject, but it's not. It's actually a very deep subject. It promotes creativity, innovation, and these are there of transparency. It's also very good. So thank you. So to everybody, thank you very much for coming. 2 hours is early now, but we do want you to suggest if you want to come and speak. We're looking for speakers. You know, we've got enough for the next couple of months, but we need some more speakers. We definitely want to do 24 webinars this year, 2 a month. So if you want to, you know, step up and give us some view of what you do, or, you know, you want to nominate somebody that you know would be a good speaker for this kind of webinar on Saturday afternoon, please write to us. You know, contact at NSE-LNB-22-01. That's the quickest. Or contact the chairman or myself or the vice chairman or the secretary general. We're all there. Our website, fantastic. Every information is on there now. You can contact us through the website as well. So with no further ado, I'm going to say thank you and have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the cold.
Thank you very much.
In this part of the world, and if you're not, enjoy the whatever weather we have back there in Abuja and Lagos. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mensa Robert. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Engineer Wale, thank you for coming.
So you can unmute yourself and talk to us if you want.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Oga Sunday.
Hey, Oga
Bosun, I know something never called me. There's something which I could have contributed.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. You see, we talk about about tender. Majority of the tenders go. It's about function. No, you mentioned about functionality and cost.
Is your phone on?
No, sorry, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
You mentioned about functionality and cost. Many of the tenders that we've seen in TFL, in many other organizations, when you put in it, when you go for tender and you say 60% cost, 40% quality. You know what tends to happen? The contractors come up with just to win the contract with less cost. Then when it comes to the delivery, they start cutting costs.
Or
quality then start going down, and then you start negotiating. That's where the problem is in many of our contracts. And then we said, oh, the contract is we overspend on the contract. Because already they've already done 60% on cost, 40% on quality.
The idea is most of the outputs of value engineering, right, will go into the contract award document. You know that.
Yeah, but the value engineering is not part of the. What I'm saying here is that they don't put value engineering into the tender process.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Okay, I understand. But it should be. It should be part of the tender process.
It is actually, engineer, but so it is. I'll tell you why, and that's because when the tenders go out in the specification, you not only specify the material, but you put a caveat in or similar. Now this is where the caveat is. So somebody might have a particular product, but if you go to China, they have the same product, the same quality, but the price is cheaper. So
everybody
you can
goes
get
to China,
or China or anywhere. So that is why it's in your specification. When you specify, you find out they normally put there or similar. They say to get this product from UK or something of a similar quality. As long as as long as you satisfy that or similar, you could get it anywhere, and that is where the prices come down. That is why on site, because we on site, we know where to get most of these materials or where to get the cheaper product from that will give you the same quality.
Yes.
So you find So you find us, apart from the value engineering that is being done pre-construction, value engineering also takes place during construction, and that is what we do.
I'm talking about the tender process. During the tender process, I've worked for an organization which many people know. I'm not going to put name. Majority of the contract comes in 60% on cost and 40% on quality. Majority of the comes down very low. So, and many of then what we don't get is that the uplifts from those contractors are totally different. So when we want them to provide the quality, then that's why we start to get into contractual dispute.
You see, there's one way of trying to eliminate this thing, because that's why, unlike TFL, Highways England, Highways England itself, which is now Roads England, has its own in tendering process. They have their own part of technical criteria which you have to sign to. For example, in Highway England, look, limb principle is enshrined now. There's nothing, you can't get away from it, and they expect what they're trying to push is to push down up to 30%. They've got up to 15 now, up to 30%. That's their aim. Up to 30%
without compromising on quality and on function.
Yes. The quality remains what it is. But what they're trying to tell you is you can cut waste. Anything that you can cut waste, which is the principle you guys use in Olympics, where the contractor finish is out. You finish, you are out. So you can cut waste. Quality still remains the same thing. And as far as they are concerned, if limb principle is not enshrined as part of your documentation for tender, just forget it. You're not going to get it. TFL is still not getting to that yet. Network Rail have started, but on HS2, they've seen that wasn't practice. Even, your program alone, In program alone, if you remember, in program, you do budget, you have a program. But at the end of the day, the design, if you're going for design and build, at the end of the day, you find out that, look, the program which you've set is not realistic. And that's just because certain lean principles were not taken into consideration. There's no collaborative planning, which is part of lean principle. Because if there was collaborative planning, you know when the design will finish, you know when the other person is going to get it. So costs can be reduced. These are part of small things within TFL, which they really need to start looking at their own, the way they tender things in order to eliminate it. They just have to try.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you, but you know, that's what I'm trying to say. You know, it's not there before.
You are really making a lot of I mean, you're opening up a lot of things, and that is why, and it's true, and I like it, because you can now see what engineers can think about. You know, you can see the way we are now thinking, that yes, we are thinking in the right direction now. And I think that was the main idea of this particular webinar, just to kind of begin to shift our thinking pattern from the lab. It's not only for the part I'm an engineer, let me just do my job and I go away. No, we are thinking about, hang on, I have a responsibility here. I need to add a value to this particular project. I need to know exactly how I can. I mean, there's no point in us doing the same thing in 6 months' time, and then we are still doing what? We are still even overshooting our costs in the first place. No, there must be a better way. You know, and I'm going to make a reference to it now, and I know definitely many people will agree with me. In the world today, the Chinese are known to be very, very good bridge builders. Have you noticed? But have you not noticed that most of their bridges are similar? All the bridges they are building are all cable strong, and they are similar.
Yeah.
And do you know what? If you read on the internet, they will tell you why they do it like that. Why do we need to use fancy thing for bridge? It's just to cross road. There's no traffic on it. It's just there's no traffic on those bridges. So why do you want to spend so much money in aesthetics? And if you look at the way they do it, that is it. And
there's traffic in Nigeria.
My chairman, don't let architect hear you say that. Because architect will be telling you aesthetically pleasing. So,
but you know what, sir? Does it? You see,
but they don't think about breathability and functionality. That is what the engineer think about.
Do you know what? Do you know what, sir? Engineer Hakim, haven't you noticed that in my webinar, in my slide, there's no mention of aesthetics at all? I didn't even mention it at all, because to us engineers, aesthetic is what? Additional, isn't it? Additional. Yes. Additional. What is the big deal? For example, I'm saying this is me talking. You guys that have a
engineer Bosun, I was actually going to pull you up on that, because the architects they also play a very big role in construction, engineering, and all that. Yes. At the end of the day, it is a collaborative profession. You can't do it alone. You need everybody involved.
That's why NSE-4 is all about that. The new type of contracts. NSE-4.
Yeah, I do agree with you on this. Because the truth is this: things are changing now, because it is not only about functionality, aesthetic. There's sustainability.
Yes.
Because the key issue now
are coming in.
Yeah. The key issue now is sustainability.
Because and whole life cycle costing.
Which forms part of the OT, and that's why the architect, the landscape architect, comes in. They have to work with the environmental. There's what you call green bridges these days. If you're designing bridges, it has to be in some cases, some bridges have to be green bridges. Yeah, some have to be. The cost may go up, but they're not looking at that. Whole life cycle comes in, because sustainability is part of whole life cycle.
Yes.
So all those things, the bridge may be more expensive because it's now green bridge. And to be frank, some green bridge carry more loads now. And because of that, you may say, no, you can't cut it. Because at the end of the day, if you look at the whole life cycle, sustainability is part of it. And so...
my brother, son, why are you bringing back my repressive memory? with this landscape architect? As far as I'm concerned, they are the worst people you can never come across. I came across them when I was working on Woolwich Town Center. They were the material they were specifying. Perhaps you gone with the material they were specifying, there'll be a lot of accidents on that road. So please don't bring up my depressive memories.
No.
They are the worst people. They just talk nonsense.
Engineer Akim,
This was a TFL job. This was a TFL job. At the end of the
consultant to TFL.
I just want to.
Yeah, I know. It was a TFL job. At the end of the day, they realized I was right.
I want to
realized I was right.
Yeah, I can continue.
They realized I was right at the end of the day because I was telling them, how can you be telling me to go and use your stone paving on carriageway?
Yes. No.
Why is there's going to be friction between the tire and the surface? No way.
But at the end of the day, Akim, what I find out, look, I'm on HS2. I was in Lower Thames Crossing. Theo will tell you. I'm in HS2 right now. And I can tell you this. What I find out on most highway projects, which I've worked on, and now with this HS2, is you work hand in hand with them. You make them to understand. At times, as an engineer, you give them lecture. You give them lecture on certain
these ones were not willing
if they accept.
These ones are not listening.
Can I come in there? Can I come in there? You know, this is the way I do this thing. For example, where I work in my office, they know that definitely Theo is always agitating for this thing they call lunch and learn. Lunch and learn. I just sent an email to all my team. Let's do lunch and learn on project controls. It's like, oh, this guy. I said, you know what? I will supply the lunch. What do I get for them? Just sandwiches. People will come like 10 people, you know. But you know what? By the time you finish, you know, when you finish, I did one for them the last time. I just say, okay, you know what? You guys have taken my sandwich. When you finish, if I don't mind contribution. Guess what? Everybody paid for their sandwich. You know, everybody paid. They just put the money there, and everybody just left, you know. But what I'm just saying is this. I mean, it's not about the money. But you know what? By doing that, what have I done to myself in that team? I have added value to myself as a team. So they will not definitely, if they are talking about engineers, no. Theo is just not an engineer, definitely a contributor. You know, and that's the most important. That is why I want Nigerian engineers to begin to see themselves. You know, I'm not saying we should not work in collaboration. I'm not saying we are there yet. But you know what? Let's begin to challenge these things. Let's begin to see exactly where people can be, you know, pushing the barrier and say, look, you know what? It can be done. The cost can be brought down. We can get it done at this particular cost, and we can get cheaper products. There's no, you know, there's nothing we are looking for today. Yes, sir.
My chairman, something I just remember I wanted to, you were hammering on about knowledge management or transferring knowledge.
Yes.
One thing I would say, based on my experience, the companies I've worked for, there is no place where they store the knowledge. Once you leave the company, you go away with that knowledge.
But that is not right.
Right, but it's not right. But you know, because they don't have a place so that even people comes in after you, even if you are still in the company, they might not even come to you to ask you, oh, you this similar project. You know, in engineering, no job are the same, but they are similar.
If you look at, I know definitely all of us we do all this work there, definitely. Do you know that definitely? Engineer Wale will talk after me now. Sorry about that, sir. Do you know that definitely when you have a project and on your system, you know, on your computer system, you begin to now have different folders for whatever project. Design is here, project management is there, the programs are here, and something like that. Blah 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 blah. The project manager is supposed to have a particular folder on the company's server for lesson learned.
Yep.
He's supposed to have it.
Yep.
It's a repository that will be available on the server of the company. It's not his personal property. No. He's supposed to be part of the document for submission, for handover.
But how many, if you have 100 million projects on the site, how many do you want to go through before you come to this, what you needed it for? You don't have that time.
But you don't have the time. You don't have that particular time. But it goes a long way. And that is why you do the pre-workshop study. Before you even go for the work, do your own due diligence. I'm building a 6-story building. Who has done it before?
Yeah. Let the engineer Wale talk now.
Well, engineer Wale, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I was just going back to the issue of definition of functionality.
Yes, sir.
For example, well, I want to give a typical example of something that happened in Nigeria, Lagos precisely. You want to put up a structure, not just because of the function of use, but maybe for the purpose you want it to be a world-class structure, something that is recognized over the world, all over the world, maybe as a tourism thing. So aesthetics will come in that case, and of course that will definitely bring up the price. So when we're talking about functionality, it might not just be for the purpose of the use, but also you want some other values, which is the main function, or which is one of the functions of that structure. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
You want to put up something that is for tourism purposes. It's got to be aesthetically attractive, and that will bring up the cost. So we still want to achieve that aesthetic attraction at the minimum possible cost.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
we will not remove aesthetics. Definitely, the price will go up because of aesthetics. But
if I can even write on the back of what you have just said, and I'm going to really make a very good question. We all know about the National Theatre in Nigeria, in Igomu.
Okay.
You can see the design, but do you think do you think it's value for money?
If it was put to proper use, unfortunately,
thank you.
Management
now you are very, very correct, sir. Now you have got it, sir.
But sorry, before you go ahead, I'll give you another example.
Yes, sir.
So that you don't just take that example and go with it. Exactly. The Lekki Ikoyi Link Bridge, which was partly a suspension bridge, it's still very useful. It's serving a lot of purposes. It would have, if we built an ordinary bridge, it would have cost us less. But we wanted to put something that will come off the world map.
Now we are talking now because it's a short span bridge anyway. It's a very short span bridge anyway for that kind of.
We could have done it for less.
Exactly.
For less, but because we wanted something that will make points.
Exactly.
It's not only in Nigeria this is happening. On the highways here, there are a lot of things coming up on our state, which is not necessary.
We know, sir. We know, but one thing we need to understand is what we're talking about is the fact that value engineering must be what we are thinking of. For example, a place like National Theatre, when they designed National Theatre, there was no thought of legacy. No thought of what are we going to use this place for after the first act. And for many, many years, that place was just redundant, just wasting away. A white elephant. And I think that is where engineers begin to go in now. Begin to think ahead. What are we going to use that product for when we finish?
Your national stadium in Lagos.
Exactly. It's just there. And
for party, it's not for parties.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I think that has to do that. I don't think that has to do with value engineering. I really think that has to do with the country's budget. There are 1,001 things the national stadium was for. I don't think we can use that as an example to say the value engineering was not applied. In that case, well, obviously it wasn't applied. Well, I won't say it wasn't applied. I wasn't part of the team. But what I'm trying to say is that there are certain things that come out. Political considerations are completely different from engineering. And if you begin to mix it up, you might do the best. But if you do not have the right political game or the right political action is not taken, no matter whatever you do, no matter how good it is, it's going to look like it's useless.
But do you know that by thinking about legacy, even before you go to site, you are driving down the OPEX cost, operational cost of that particular project after you have delivered. But now, once you build it, that's the end of the story. So
there's nothing that we do if we do not. No matter how good the structure is, if you do not apply maintenance, proper use, I mean, to definitely come down. I think that is another field entirely, which you need to look at maintenance and proper use of our structures. I think that's a completely different field we need to look at.
In fact, that's a different kettle of fish altogether when it comes to maintenance. But do you know definitely you maintain what you are using? Do you know that sometimes most of our projects in Nigeria are not even being used properly?
Yeah, that's right.
So they're not even being used properly. So what are you maintaining? So what is the point of maintaining it in the first place? I have seen so many overhead bridges in Lagos that are not even being used. Everybody's just flying on the road. So you just wonder, why did you build it in the first place? What was the business case about?
No, Bosu, they've got a very good business case, but the location, demand is very, very important. And also, like when it comes to highways in Nigeria, they don't do what they call road safety audit.
Okay, now we are learning new things.
So there are a lot of things there that needs to be done. Like I was in Lagos recently, and I was looking at what they're doing in Body Thomas. I started questioning myself, why are we still doing the same thing with the drainage when it's not working? Why are we still covering the drainage when it's still not working? Why can't we, like what we said about lesson learned? What lesson have we learned about what in the past that we're still doing the same thing, the same design?
And do you know what? If you see the way people build drainages nowadays, you can't believe it. It's so cheap, it's so easy, it's so fast, and it's done.
That's why I said you can leave.
And it's done and dusted, and everybody goes away.
They don't give the job to the engineer. They don't give the job to the engineers like Wale.
Exactly.
To their friends.
Guys, come and have some food, though.
Dr. P, you're supposed to be sharing your food, not eating it on your own.
Dr. P, you're adding value to your tummy.
It's not, the man is greedy. What do you mean adding value to his tummy?
Cannot even share it.
And dinner combined.
What kind of value are you adding to it that I'm not involved? You are not adding any value.
So please, and then like Dr. Popola said, we need people to contribute to our webinars, and I'm going to be mentioning names very soon. Engineer.
Actually, I just put something on your Bosu. I just put something on your chat. Nobody responded.
Which one is that, sir? Time to show the bank details for subscription and other charities. I'm going to send it now. In fact, I will send it to you personally. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will do that, sir. Thank you very much. And it's going to be on our website. It's going to be our chat forums and everything. Thank you. And please,
sorry, my chairman. I think it's a very nice idea to put the bank details on our WhatsApp. So if people want to put money in there, they just put it and then inform you after.
I think we did now. We are going to do it again today. Now.
Actually, Bosu, it's always good every time you do.
Every time we'll be sensitizing them.
Put something there because some people are just joining for the first time. Like now, I sent this webinar to many people.
You said be careful.
I would thank God they came. I'm very happy with the reception. Even people still there behind, we really appreciate you. And that's our first one, despite the glitches. And then we're getting on. I just felt. In fact, even today, Dr. Quinn, did you hear what the president was talking about this morning? He was talking about engineers being innovative now. That we just have to be creative in our thinking. We just have to sit down and just take things the way they are. And I think that's the best way forward for us. How they will take that in Nigeria.
Chairman,
for us to decide.
Chairman, let me ask you: is there any discount if you have to pay for 3 years? Any discount?
Any discount for 3 years?
Yeah, upfront payment. Dr. Popola, can you answer, please?
10%.
No.
10% off.
There's discount for that, and then we will take the discount as value adding.
Any money don't share you.
So we give you the discount, and then we take it back. And thank you for having
Ijebu man.
Chairman.
Thank you for adding value to the branch. Honestly, we will definitely
Yeah, man.
You pay for 3 years, and then we give you the discount, and then we say thank you for giving us adding value.
Right, I'm sending the details now.
But come to think of it, I think jokes apart, if you give us that, if you take 10% off, why don't you ask whether people want to contribute it to the project or not?
Yeah, that's another thing we can do it.
I don't think people will mind that. Say we are doing a project. Do you want to use your 10% as contribution or donation for this project.
Yeah, good idea, Hakeem. Very good idea.
That's contribution. That's why, and then you would, and then after giving us money, they say no, you don't want to contribute it to the project.
No,
no, it's a donation.
No,
it's a donation.
You know,
I'm just joking. I know. Even if we give you guys the bill for the project, you will sponsor it straight away now.
I may be persuaded if Dr. Odunlami pay up all the debt he owed me in 805.
Sorry, Rob. 805
the man has been promising me 805 for the last 5 years.
Hakeem, Sunday,
for the last 5 years, he's been promising me 805. That's another one. That's part of it.
I can tell you one thing, Engineer Hakeem, for Dr. P to pay you all the money that you
No, it's not money. It's 805 commitment. That is what you hold me. Yeah.
Wait. For you to pay all the 805 commitment, Arsenal must win Champions League first.
Don't be flying.
Everything he's saying is what he called
which is nearly impossible, isn't it?
Don't be flying.
That's what it is.
And this thing we are talking about, what would Dr. P? Don't joke with that man, no. One project will just finish everything. I'm telling you. That is warehouse full of those modular units. Are waiting for it. you know.
Please leave Dr. Sunday. No. That's my man.
I can see Dr. P in a value engineering workshop. I said, okay, we need this material. They said, don't worry, I can get it off the shelf for you. Forget about that one. It's a very good session to be. I've been in many of them, and I always enjoy it because it's brainstorming. You will see people of 65 years, 75, 70 old people coming into the place, and they start talking to you about projects. They're not talking to you about materials. They're not talking to you. In fact, they can quickly show you something on their mobile phone, pictures. You keep on wondering, wow.
Do you know the issue we have, Boston? Like me, the job I'm doing now as a project manager, I also have that engineering input.
Background, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's always difficult sometimes to get it through. Like I was saying to some of the engineers, what you're trying to do is wrong. Oh, no, you are just a project manager. I said, forget it. I'm not only project manager. Like I was saying, we're trying to do a footway. You come to a crossover. It has a concrete base, which is so sound. The formation level is so sound. And you said we should break it down to 100 million. I said, now, what do you want to do with it? When the foundation is okay, the formation level is okay, why are you wasting money?
Let me even give you a very good one that happened yesterday at the meeting. They came about and they dropped the program. I said, review this program, and the client says that we are in delay and stuff like that. And you know what? They were so shocked. I said, yes, we are in delay. I said, no, you can't say that. We are not in delay. I said, yes. I said, look, we're supposed to have approved their documentations before Christmas. Up till now, we have not approved it. They said, oh, no, it's not our fault. I said, yes, it is our fault. I told you that time, when the contractor put 20 days to approve the documentation, this PM, the senior PM, said we can do it in 5 days. I'm telling you, he said, no, I've got the team. Quick turnaround. That was in November. Now it's now in January. You remember, you saw the email I sent you that this is not possible. The statutory lead time is about 15 to 20 days for you to approve this documentation. I don't think we have the capacity for 20 days. From experience, I knew that. Now the guys are saying that we are in delay now. The guy just said, that is true. He said, but do you see that email? I said, yes, I do. He said, can you delete it? I said, I'm not deleting it. I'm going to keep it. Because I sent him, I said, he's going to be, let's put 20 days. Oh, when you put 20 days for us to approve, he's going to push the program. Then he pushes it. But now you've covered your backside. Now we couldn't do it even in 5 days that we put there because Christmas has jumped into it. Now the guy has said we are now delayed by another 10 days. And now you are shouting. So what are you going to do? I thought you better get somebody to start doing it over the weekend. I just told him yesterday, just get the documentation to be reviewed over the weekend and let me know that it was done by Monday. He was laughing. I said, you have to. So these are the things I'm talking about. It's sometimes very difficult to get your thoughts through when you're in the team because you think, what do you know? But when you begin to talk about this kind of lesson learned, this is where I spoke to you last week, you didn't listen to me, this is it, and they begin to see results, they will know you are saying what you are saying, you know? But you can't even blame them, even here, when they don't listen to you. What about where we come from? Do they listen to us? Even where we
but you know, but so another issue is that, you know, what people tend to forget, that we engineers are project managers from the time we started. In many of our careers, we are project managing from beginning, from scope to delivery. I know that people always say project managers,
for most of us,
engineers are the project managers. There are many schemes I've carried out that I started from beginning to the end without being called project manager.
Yep.
When I first started my engineering. And I always say to
that
people,
is when they call you assistant engineer.
Absolutely.
That's when they call you assistant engineer, and then you go to engineer, and then senior engineer. But you are managing projects, so you are doing the cost and whatever.
When I was,
I don't know why they always think that we are not.
You know what? When I was in for BT as a sectional engineer, right? As a sectional engineer working on P-Way, Victoria Line in those days, I used to do Microsoft project program every evening before going to site. Every night, you have to do your program yourself before going to site.
Yeah.
You have to do, and we put resources on it every night before going to site yourself as an engineer. That is why you find those for BT guys who have been there for so many years. When they become project managers, they don't leave their engineering thinking cap at all. It's always there because they've gone through that treatment from day one. They have been managing projects from day one.
Yeah,
and once you make that particular program, if they are going to overrun, you have the capacity and the right to go and tell the speak, oh yeah, stop the project now and begin to pack. They are going to overrun. You have the right to tell them that this program is now delayed. I don't want us to overrun. Let's go back. We have clamp the rail.
But as long as you have a baseline, you should be able to determine why.
You have a program that everybody signs to.
The baseline for the program, you should be able to determine why it's being late, what is going on, and whatever.
That is it.
So, Theo, just to be fair to for BT, you know they have this. It's like a training school. They call it knowledge something training. I don't know what they call it, but recently they've been doing series of knowledge sharing to anyone, to those who are interested. For example, from construction of highways to maintenance to everything. They do that. And I think they themselves, they've now realized it. They started sharing knowledge and discussing it openly.
Exactly. And the same thing with Langorok is doing the same thing at their office in Dartford. They are doing the same thing now. They have a whole suite of knowledge-based sharing there. For anyone that is interested, they collaborate with anyone that is interested.
Yeah, because that, unfortunately, that's the in thing. Like you said, in our country,
it's a big problem because, for example, which company wants to share knowledge with you? But I don't know why.
Not only that, in our country, is the architect that run all these things, and they be telling you, and because some of our engineers cannot tell them, no, this is the way we think we should do it, and for your organization, for your company to back you up. I think those are the things. Some of the engineers, they can do it, but because they don't get the support, they are not given the opportunity. They are not given the opportunity to say what they know.
But let me ask a question. This is where I want to ask this question, and I want to learn from whatever answers you got. Now, who really determines that the architect is the leader of the team? Who determines that? Is it the client? Is it the client? Is it the client that says, I want the architect to be the one, or is it, I don't know, who determines that?
I don't know how it works, but you
I
know,
don't
in
know.
Nigeria, if it's a building,
Is it
they
or
tend
is
to
it
put
because they are
architect there.
the ones that are paid most on the team?
It depends. It depends on the type of project, obviously. If it's a house or a building, yes, you want the architect to come up with a scheme as to what it's going to look like, how many floors, how many areas, and all that. Things like engineers do what they're doing. But if it's a road or it's a bridge, unless you think about architecture, you don't really need an architect these days. The engineer could formulate what the bridge look like and how far it's going to span and all that. So it depends on the project, you know. But
Yes.
people like me who have a qualification, both engineering and architecture, with both of them, buy one, you get one free.
Thank you very much. You see, but now, yeah, but Dr. P, you have answered the question rightly now. But now let's look at it from this way. Haven't you noticed that most of the cases of showstoppers on projects is based on design? Is that not true?
Yeah, because
Exactly.
if the engineer runs, architect runs away and just doing something fancy and doesn't, as you say, it doesn't get the stakeholder, the engineers involved to make sure it will stand up, then you get that problem.
Exactly.
Actually, Bros, can I say
10
something?
meter cantilever
Yeah.
is impossible
Can I-
unless you make it out of a massive beam that is gonna carry the whole weight of the building. Then you're not gonna get a 7 meter cantilever.
Actually, let's
The
look at
architect thought, that's easy.
let's look at TFL.
Very nice, looks very good, very slender,
Tony,
I'm
let's
gonna
go
have
to Nigeria. I think part of the problem in Nigeria is that some of our engineers are not properly trained. And it's a fact. They're not properly trained because they are not like that.
Don't say
the
that.
ones, honestly,
No,
you know what? The ones that are properly trained, they don't talk.
Let me explain myself. In terms of experience, they are not properly trained. I'm not talking about university qualification because I don't know that area. I don't know about that area, but I'm talking in terms of experience. You know, like here, when you finish, when you graduate, they put you on site. You have a senior engineer overlooking what you are doing and correcting you and all those stuff. And you do that for a certain amount of time. But I don't see that in Nigeria from the little I've seen on project. So I'm not talking about the qualification. I'm talking about the experience. And they are accepting that themselves because that's where most of them fall down. The experience, practical knowledge, which they need after they've graduated. That is the point I'm making.
Actually, can I just come? No, let me talk about TFL, which I'm so used to. You know, when we first started in TFL, we have what they call area engineer, principal engineers, and all the chief engineer, and then through that, some people came in with no qualification at all, and they realized that they cannot call themselves engineers, so they decided to form project management center. Yes, from there they changed our own title from being engineers to program manager and project managers. And then they brought in people who haven't got engineering experience. And what they will tell you, you engineers are only technically expertise. But the project managers don't have to have the technical ideas. But what about us who have engineering qualification and now you make us program manager and project manager? So you're not calling us project manager instead of engineers. Because those who are heading us on grade 7 or whatever it is, our directors are not engineers and they tend to dictate what we need to do. And that's why many times some of our engineering projects tend to go wrong because we are being dictated to do it this way, that way.
Tony, that boils down to your overall lead when they are doing that. Because the companies which I've worked for, like Pacman and Colin Buchanan and all this stuff, they will tell you, the engineers are also project managers because they have the background of what they are talking about.
Work with us in TFL.
I know I've worked with you, and that's why some of them think I'm so brash when I say things. And I tell them, but few months down the line, they realize what I've said. That is true. So then that's why even Scott or whatever it is went back to the company to apologize, saying that he was sorry for the way these guys were doing the job, that Hakim was right all the way. Because they're getting people, because they are not on the day, and also I think it's also boiled down to our own communication, the way we communicate our message to them. because there's no point to putting on technical jargons to somebody who doesn't study engineering. You know, so I think in a way, yeah, we should take part of the blame, which is down to us. But when they are doing that, it's down to our superior to say, you know, you cannot say these are they bring in people who have no engineering knowledge to come and be doing footway because they won't know the dimension. They don't know what material to put there.
I tell you, my boss, I tell you one incident. As an engineer, I told them this is what needs to be done. This is the standard and everything. My boss is telling me I should not be telling the client what about the engineering part of it as a project manager. I said, look, you know, as an engineer, I will not sign this. I will never do this project because it's not safe.
Absolutely.
I said, I'm not doing it. And then I went to the top, and I said, do you know what? I'm not doing this project. This is on the A12. You wanted to introduce token crossing on the A12, 50 miles per hour road. And I said to them, what is it, you know, stopping distance and all those type of things. And Oscar Faber did a report, and they allowed that to happen. They actually want that to happen. I said, no, I'm not doing it.
But you see, in such situation, because I've had the director, one of our directors, who was the chairman, who told me to do something which is against the principle, saying that the client want this, the client want this. I told him at the end of the day, I said, don't worry, I'll do what you want, but I'll put it in writing. Can you confirm that you agree? He didn't. He will never, because I have to cover my back.
Well, I actually told them, and I told the chief.
Will say, you put it in writing. That's why I do. I just put it in writing to him. I said, can you confirm? And I'll go ahead and do it. Because they might say that is insubordination. You are doing this thing. But it's not insubordination when I'm saying I'm taking authorization from you. And it's
No, actually, I will tell you, I will not do it, and I will go to the top and report that. I reported that project. I said, there is no way I'm going to do it because I'm going to kill so many people. And it's not going to go under my name. But
you see, they tend to cover themselves. I had a similar experience when I was in local authority. I told the councillor, he said, I'm the councillor, you're this. I said, I don't mind, councillor. I will do what you want. Just confirm it to me in writing. He won't. He won't. Once you say confirm something in writing, once it's in writing, I'm acting on your instruction now.
But again, you have to be very careful there. You have to be very careful. Even though they put it in writing, you are the professional engineer.
But I've been overruled. That's why I asked him to put it in writing. I gave my advice. I've been overruled. And to avoid the case of insubordination, I'm putting it in writing to you. And because what the one normally I said to normally we are putting in my professional judgment, this is this and this. And you are saying this. Can you please confirm for me to go ahead? I've already put it there, my professional judgment. So why you're going to come back to me and said I haven't to? No way.
Well, what are you guys talking about? What do you guys think about this?
You know, what was saying that?
I am coming to take my. I'm coming to take up my 805 this thing.
Can you guys hear me?
Please,
you're breaking up Sunday.
I said, what do you guys think of the DG2 motorway with no outshoulder?
But they've already been doing that, and there is a lot of accidents, and that's why they now want to.
Yeah, they've stopped it.
Yes, that is what they call something activated kinetic something. We're using that shoulder during the peak period, and there is a lot of accident because when car breaks down there, I think it's the wrong idea in the first place because I was at.
They call it smart motorway.
That's right. So I think it was the wrong idea, which was transport. No, not transport. What is it? Highway, whatever.
Highways England.
Highways England.
I experienced it just before Christmas. My car broke down on M25, and within 5 minutes, the old M25 was shut down.
Because they hit into the car that broke down. They thought it was going, and somebody coming using that, we think the car is moving, going to the back, especially if it is at night. You go into the back of it. People coming behind you, we go into your back as well.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was so scared. The lorry was coming, even though they see the lane was closed.
I was nearly giving that project.
I would have gone.
I've done that before. I've done that before. I've queued behind a parked car for about 3 to 5 minutes, not knowing that the car was parked. Everybody was looking at me on the main road. I just said, what's wrong with these guys looking and laughing? I thought it was just maybe parked. I didn't know it was, I thought it was traffic. Everybody was just looking at. So I think that's one thing that they do